Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Arvanauts, and welcome all to day 6 of This Is Not D&D with Viewers. I switch. All right, I apologize in advance because I switched this multiple times, and I don't know why it's not picking up. They have had Twitch, get your stuff together. I've already changed the stream title multiple times, and it does not seem to be taking, and I don't know why. This is not, to be clear, day 6 of D&D. This is day 5 of Shire Adventures. So just give me a second, because this was not supposed to be. That's really frustrating. There we go. Great. Thanks. Okay. So I'm hoping that now it will actually pick up at the thing that was there. I think that's exclamation point, maybe LOTR, possibly, but I don't 100% know. All right. Well, the rest of that is accurate. Okay. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. All right. Now I have corrected it, and I hope it picked up this time because it's really annoying. Because, okay. Anyway, now it's fixed. It should have been there already, and I don't know why it's not, and that's annoying. Anyway, my apologies, everybody. That's what this actually is. Day 5. Oh, play LOTR. Yes, there we go. Thank you, Runel. Day 5 of Lord of the Rings role-playing Shire Adventures, sponsored by Free League. And in just a minute, Chatty is going to pick up on this, and it will have that as well. But now it should be there. I don't know if people can refresh the title, if they can see if that's actually there in the new one. But it would be great if people could double-check for me. Is it actually now the right thing that it should have been? Because it's literally like the third time that I'm redoing this. So is it real? Is it revealing itself as day 5 of Shire Adventures, Expert Treasure Hunters, which is what this actually is, not D&D with Viewers? Right there, and neighbors. Can anyone tell me? Can you see this on your end? Because I want to make sure that, yes, it's there. Okay. All right, good. All right, well, that's good. So there it is. So it is not D&D with Viewers. It is Shire Adventures, and we are sponsored as always by Free League. And I want to mention that this is very important today because this game has officially released, and I'll talk about it. There it is. Now it's popped up there. Day 5 of Shire Adventures, Expert Treasure Hunters, sponsored by Free League, which is what it was to begin with. So it is my great pleasure to welcome all of you to this session. Now that we got past that little technical snafu, and welcome you to the Shire Adventures crew. This is the first of 2 sessions we'll be doing this month. The second session will be taking place during ArvCon, although there will be one of our members who will be out, and we will explain what that is about in just a moment. But before we go any further, a couple of quick reminders about how to support us here on the channel. If you haven't done so already, please follow the channel. Please check out our YouTube with !ArvTube, where you will see past broadcasts of this and other streams. !ArvCord is our Discord channel where you can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. Twitter is !ArvTweets. Website is arvaneleron.com. Financially, !ArvShop is the merchandise area. !ArvTreon is the Patreon. You can get cool stuff at both of those areas. You can also get cool stuff by subscribing to the channel, which Tren was nice enough to do just as the stream was starting. And on top of that, you can support us by supporting the publishing side of things, which Emily represents in part. Icarus is the Icarus graphic novel from Athos Arts. Library is Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. That's my 5e adventure and source book. That is not Athos Arts. That is Alligator Alley Entertainment. But Grayshade, which is what Emily was out in the West Coast for, which is a IBPA Benjamin Franklin Award silver medal winner. That book you can buy right now if you go to that link. You can also pre-order Heretic, which is coming out next year, and Renegade, the direct sequel, I should say, which is coming out in July of this year. So you can pre-order Renegade, and then, as I say, Heretic is out next year. The tabletop role-playing game from Brandon O'Brien by Alligator Alley will be out later this year. You can pre-order at that link as well. And you can also get a copy of the audiobook by one Mr. Trent Sparks, which is now out and available and is amazing, and you should listen to it. And I'm just super excited about it at all times. Yeah, no, what? So you can get that as well. And last but certainly not least, exclamation point BLM, Black Lives Matter, important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. Exclamation point Help Now, the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention, important to reach out to others when you need help and reach out to others when they need help as well. And exclamation point Ukraine, Ukraine, to help the fine people of Ukraine as they fight back against an illegal and illegitimate war with bravery and courage. And let me see. Let me just do one thing here to make sure about something. Button both sides. Okay, there we go. So there is that. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, even more last but certainly not least, is this event that I have been talking about quite a bit. And that, of course, is the Klein event. This is the kickoff event for ArvCon 2023. 2 weeks from this Thursday. 2 weeks from Thursday is going to be this event. So we are closing in now, chat. In 2 weeks from this Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern at the historic Klein Memorial Auditorium in Bridgeport, Connecticut, we will have a live Dungeons & Dragons event, and I will be announcing shortly the student who is going to be involved. In fact, I might even do that, now that I think of it, at the end of the stream today. Maybe not. I might do that on Friday, actually. I think I'll do that on Friday. The high school student who has been selected, there's going to be meeting up with the other players, CSE Cooney, Carlos Hernandez, Zach Clay, and Robert Austin James, otherwise known as Darkside Rob. He'll be meeting with those players in a Zoom call with me Thursday evening. And then his character art is just about done, and we've got the video work underway and all that stuff. So I'm going to be announcing corporate sponsors for this in the next couple of days, and I will be announcing the name of the high school student joining us as well at the end of the week, either Thursday or Friday. So that's all pretty exciting. It's $5 to get in the door for this event. It's $5 to watch the live stream if you want to do that instead. And I would love to see any or all of you there. I'm hoping to have a really good turnout. This is the first time this has ever been done in Southern Connecticut, and certainly in Bridgeport. And so the Klein is excited. I'm excited. And all of this is to benefit the Klein Memorial Auditorium, and most of all to benefit the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation. And we have a lot of companies that have stepped up, a lot of sponsors that have stepped up, and I'm super excited about all of it. So please spread the word, let people know about it, and we will have more going on with that to announce very, very soon. Schedule-wise, we've got this going on today. I will be on again Friday night with more Jedi Survivor, and that's when I'll also try to announce this business with the high school student who is going to be joining us. But right now, it is my great pleasure to unmute myself here to introduce the players. I apologize if I have interrupted anyone because I can't hear them. Then I'm going to unmute them, and last but certainly not least, I'm going to head over to reveal the incredible crew, which you can see before you, of Shire Adventures. They are here. They are ready to go. They have just successfully completed a conspiracy most cracked. They managed to save a mule. They managed to not destroy an owl, and thus earning the enmity of all natural things. They managed to quell the firework. That's right. Or
did we set it off?
Yeah, we'll see what the long-term ramifications of all of these things will be. And you recovered a family heirloom for Bilbo in the minds of everyone but one character who does not agree, perhaps, that's exactly what happened. But we will talk more about that as we go through. I do want to mention just very quickly that for our event, our ArvCon event, Amal, who I'm going to introduce first, will not be with us because Amal is going to be on this awesome retreat and thus will not be able to join us. But Amal will be with us, of course, in spirit. We will keep in mind all of her amazingness as she is off on this retreat, and so we will see what happens with Coriander in the event today. But having said all of that, I will start by asking Amal. Speaking of you, how are you? How's life in the universe with everything? How's everything going with tweets from rhymes with Nicus Wickus, Nicodus Wickedus? No. How's everything with you?
I want to say the full name. Can I just say the full
name?
Yeah,
no, go to it.
Sure. Gosh, I literally just wrote a newsletter about this, and I'm still like, how do I explain this? If I were to read out my newsletter, so my book, which I can't gesture to because I've moved recently, like last week. What day is it? Today's Tuesday. So almost one full week ago, moved house in order to be I I moved for reasons people move. Um,
Never mind why I
and
moved. I just
everything
moved.
is much of a muchness. This is my new office. I love it very much, but nothing is in place, so I'm quite echoey. There are many boxes of books that need to be unpacked. Anyway, in amidst all of this stuff, friends started texting me, "Hey, have you seen this?" And they would send me this like one tweet from an account that went by Bigolus Dickolus Wolfwood, and
Really?
it was a tweet that was going, "Wow, Time War, like read this book," and I was like, "Oh, that's nice." And then I looked at the numbers on this tweet, and it was absurdly viral, like 2 days ago. And I was like, "Oh, like is this person a celebrity or like a popular TikToker or something?" And no, no, it's just someone who's really into Trigun, an anime from the 90s that has recently been rebooted. And somehow, through some like algorithmic weird alchemy magic, um, said this thing about Time War. Lots of other people chimed in. I'm gonna just drop the tweet into the chat to show you, because why not? And this tweet, this viral tweet, the thing you should know is that sort of a truism in publishing that tweets don't sell books. Like, unlike through most other social media, has a much higher conversion rate, basically, of attention on social media to actually people buying a book. Twitter's is very low. But in this case, this one tweet somehow has propelled the book to number 21 in Amazon. Like not in like time travel books or science fiction romance, but like in books. Like if you go to the top 40 books on Amazon, Time War is at number 21 and has been somewhere between the 40s and 21 for the last couple of days, so that the people at Simon and Schuster who published the book had to get in touch to be like, what is going on? What happened? Why is your book selling so weirdly?
Hey, Mel, did you want to put that in Twitch chat? Because you put it in Zoom chat. I don't know if you want to
Oh,
put
did
it in.
I?
Yeah.
Whoops. I meant to put it in the Twitch chat. Here we go. Here it is. Ba-boing.
There it is.
And yeah, so my my mentions have been wild. I wrote a newsletter attempting to explain what happened and what is still happening. TBH.
7.3 million views. Well,
Yeah, it sure is the thing. And anyway, it's great. So I'm tremendously grateful to Bicolus Diccolus for this. If you know,
I mean, it is a great. It's a great book, so it makes it easier. You know, if it was a crappy book, that would be one other thing. But like, it's a great book, which is why I teach it. I wouldn't be teaching it if it wasn't.
Thank you. I mean, listen, it sure has made me want to get into Trigun. Like, sure.
I think you've reached the high point. Honestly, I don't think there's nowhere to go but down.
The main character's name is Vash the Stampede. He's got this amazing. Never mind. Just go.
No, exactly. I have learned this in the last couple of days. Are you a fan of Trigun?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounded very convincing.
No.
Trigun.
Don't worry about it.
Like
Anyway.
just like out of frame, you can see like his Vash body pillow
Yeah.
sitting on his bed.
I'm so thrilled and so like just overjoyed by this development. Every bit of it so far has been wild. Max was on a plane while all this was happening, and I was literally like tweeting to our agent with like hashtag has Max landed yet? And anyways, it was just it's been wild. It's been very wild, and it continues to be wild. And who knows what will come of this? Nothing like this has ever happened to me before. I'm very agog and awe. So
Listen,
anyway,
if you can tell your friend Biggest Ridiculous, to happen to just drop information about like if you like religious assassins, like I mean that are silver medal winners, and just let them know. Just throw it that way.
sure. It's just, I do wish this for all of us. One thing I do want to say is that what it has shown to me is that, like, if any of you out there feel like your tweets about the things that you love are like falling on deaf ears, or are just, not having the effect that you want them to have, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it anyway, because they're at some point they will accrete into something bigger than the sum of their parts. And whether you have a Bigelow Stickless or some other Scrimblow Bimblow lovable scrunko to help you do it, you know, I got him! Got Tren! Oh, this never happens! I love it! Oh, it's good. Anyway, there have
Put
been
now
lots
in
of
chat
jokes
which
about
one of
sales
our
calls,
player
let me tell
characters
you.
is your personal blorbo.
Yes.
Anyway, it's part of the snowball, right?
Exactly. Just like, if there is something to take from this, any actionable thing to take, I don't know how to make lightning strike, but I do know that if you just keep talking about the things that you love for long enough, you give them a chance for this to happen. Because it wasn't just Bigelow Stickless. It was the fact that, like, I'm going to say that name
It's
as
never
often
just
as I
Bigelow
can.
Stickless. It's never just.
It's just like that was just the lightning rod for like a lot of, like, part of what I think made this happen is that people replied to it saying that they loved the book and just kind of kept that going, and it was lovely. So anyways, I'm tremendously grateful to everyone over the last 4 years of this book's life cycle who has contributed to this wacky, baffling moment. Anyway, I'm playing a character called Coriander Took, who is a hobbit in her tweens, and who has very flexible ideas about ownership.
Yes, and is in a lot of trouble.
Trouble?
Yeah, I
What has Coriander ever done to get into trouble?
that's
You
true.
little baby.
Well, actually,
Like montage, and then it's just like, half hour of like stealing pies and like, anyway. So it is a pleasure to have Amel with us, and I do genuinely mean that. I mean, it doesn't sound like it needs any more help from me, but This Is How You Lose the Time War is a really, really wonderfully done book. So you should all check that out, and it's great, and I'm glad that has gone viral. It's just amazing that, if you go take a look at some of what Emily's been tweeting about what some of Publishers Weekly's views on things are regarding crowdfunding stuff. That's been a thing too. Anyway, I will not bring the crowd down, but it's a weird industry that we're all in. A very weird industry that not all of us, but many of us are. Anyway, it's always a pleasure to have Amal with us. I'm excited to hear what Coriander gets up to today. It is also a pleasure to have Brad with us, who is another member of this strange group organization known as the publishing world. Brad, how's life with you? Have you found yet? I was about to say, have you found your biggest ridiculous? And I just can't say that. And actually so I'm just going to have to say, like, where will you find your viral tweet? Do you need to go find another anime and like find someone to love? If you haven't read Shattered Sands, you need to read this now. I'll grab you by the throat and maybe you can read it. That's what that tweet basically said. Have you found someone like that? And how's life in the universe with you? And who are you playing today?
Isn't the Bigelow Stickless a Mel Brooks character from
That's
one of his
Biggest
movies?
Dickus.
Biggest Dickus. Yeah.
that's
No,
not
that's
Mel
from
Brooks. That
Holy
is,
Grail.
Wait, yeah, no,
No,
sorry.
it's
Biggest
not
was
Dickus.
thinking
from
about
Holy Grail.
Or
It's
from,
from Life
uh,
of Brian.
Oh, Life of Brian. Sorry,
You
it's from Life of Brian.
Philistines.
That's
But
true. It's from Life of
It's
Brian.
still Biggest Dickus, not Bigelow Stickless.
It is Biggest
Yes.
Dickus. Yes. You have a problem with my friend Biggest Dickus? Yeah, it's a very funny sequence from my podcast. Anyway, Brad, how are you? How's life in the universe with you and stuff?
I am doing well. I'm in this weird in between place between projects. I've turned in Big Fat Book #1 in the new epic fantasy series. I'm like sort of working on this novella. I like to do novellas between books to kind of keep the story alive and have things to talk about between books and stuff because they take a while to come out. But I'm also trying to just relax a little bit because I don't do that very often. But
Because
I
you just
always-
don't.
Yeah, but every time I try, and I have done a little bit. I've just kind of cut down on the number of hours that I'm spending per day on writing for a little bit until I can kind of just get this novella out and start chipping away at the next book, the next outline anyway for it, not writing it yet. But it's funny how, I don't know if everybody's the same way in this, uh, the gig economy. I just always have this pressure to be writing, and
Yeah.
then anytime I feel like I not feel like I know I deserve a break. There are times when you have to step back from your work and just enjoy life a little bit and relax, because that fuels your creativity, and keeps you going. But it's so hard to do. It does take a while to get into that mode of thinking. So
And you have had, a kind of a medical thing that was kind of a fairly significant not that long ago, Brad, So
yeah,
maybe some rest is in the offing.
yeah, that's true too. Yeah, I mean that having a stroke and stuff resets your priorities a bit, and so anyway, that's where I am. It's actually a good place to be. I'm not under any great pressure right now, just waiting for copy edits on the new book and shipping rant stuff in the meantime. And in the meantime, doing things like this, playing games. And I actually have a local gaming group too. We do board games and some D&D as well. But today, I'm playing Cal Fallowhide, a budding map maker, who is looking forward, well, who is proud of having brought back this map
Yeah.
that Bilbo sent us off to find, and is super excited to go off on a new adventure to find treasure.
That's right. Which has all this sort of family connected history with some of the halflings involved here, as we will talk
Yeah,
about.
right.
Always a pleasure to have Brad with us, and also a pleasure to have with us the amazing Tari Tunes, who is going to be involved on multiple fronts, actually. Already is involved in multiple fronts, but more than that with this channel because of certain things that are going to be going onto our merchandise area with some Shire adventure characters that she may have had a minor hand in doing, like this entire overlay and all the character art. So I continue. Can I just say, by the way, Tari, that every time I see the splash screen for this, it makes me happy. Like, I love this Hobbit cover anyway, for the original that you pulled this from, the idea from. And so I just love it. It's awesome. But we are joined by the amazing Tari Tunes. And Tari is going to be joining us again later this month, too, for some more Midnight Rogue fighting fantasy illustration action. But today we got some Tolkien going on. So how are you, Tari?
Midnight
How's life in the
Rouge,
universe
like-
with you? That Midnight Rouge. That's right.
Yeah.
Midnight Rouge. Now that we have an actual, that was the one before we learned how to pick locks. Heyo. Anyway, how's life in the universe with you? Who are you playing today?
Well, I'm doing fine. Doing art stuffs. I've like started a new project where I'm like making pennants for like various civic
Wow.
coats of arms. This will be the town of Siegburg, from my home region.
Wow.
And yeah, like just have like a whole stack of these unpainted, different colored little what are these called? Pennants?
Pennants. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the English word.
I need to talk to you about seeing if I can have you make a coat of arms for, like,
For what?
well, either for where I live or. My family already has a coat of arms. The Wilson clan was very well known for being constantly betrayed and ambushed, but we survived. We never figured out how to understand
Your
our
clan
friends.
chief has a coat of arms. Your family does not have a coat of arms. I'm pretty sure about that.
Fine, my clan chief.
Scotland has some incredibly strict rules about inheritance.
It's
like,
true.
the most
But I was
strict
part of the
rules in
gun
entire world
clan.
about
The
this
Wilson
thing.
clan is part of the gun clan. So, like I say, we were constantly betrayed and ambushed.
That
but
makes
we
so
survived.
much sense.
So it absolutely does. So I'll have to talk to you about that. Anyway, when
Also,
not
the
doing
Wilson
that-
arms are kind of boring.
well, thanks.
Ooh.
Wow. See,
No, they really are.
did I
to
not
the
just
gym.
say I'm
It's like
constantly
a stupid
betrayed,
fucking chevron
constantly
with, like,
betrayed
what was it, 3 roses or something?
by
I
people
need to
I
look it
thought
up
were
again.
friends, and once again, proving
Listen, I will never lose. Like, I will never waste breath on like dunking on British heraldry. Okay, it's like there's like just so much. No, British heraldry. I mean, Scotland, okay, but like for the most part. But hi, I'm Tari Toons. I like heraldry. So yeah, no, we absolutely can do that. And yeah, talk about the legalities about using different arms.
right.
Because Scotland doesn't do family arms. Scotland has only individuals' arms. So anyway, I when I'm not talking my ass off about heraldry, which totally interesting to everybody listening, I'm sure. I'm playing like D&D stuff here, and in this case, I would be playing the grandma of a certain Coriander Tuk, and that would be Granny. I was about to say Laura. No, Laura is another character in that family. No, Granny Lavender, Hope Singer. Laura Hope Singer was granddaughter, great granddaughter through. I don't know. I need to look up the family tree from another game that we did here. But yes, and she is a scholar and an apothecary, a healer, a herbalist. What is the word? Apothecary.
An apothecary. Yeah.
Apothecary. English pronunciation never makes sense. So yeah, that's Granny. Yeah, and she also likes to throw pebbles at birds.
That's true. Is anti-owl apparently, which is like listen,
No, she doesn't discriminate. She is willing to throw pebbles
just
at
hates
just
all
about
birds.
any bird.
I'll keep that in mind. Wait till we get to section 3. The eagles are coming, and we'll see how that goes. I'm just kidding. Anyway, always
They're coming
a pleasure.
into range, you mean, huh?
Exactly. Always a pleasure to have Tari with us. And last but not least, a pleasure to have Tren Sparks with us, the aforementioned narrator of the Gray Shade audiobook that I was just singing the praises of because it is amazing. I was listening to more of it yesterday. Tren's really good at that stuff. But when not being amazing at that sort of stuff, Tren, how's life with you otherwise? And who are you playing in today's game?
Well, I got a thing.
Okay.
In the mail.
I recognize it already.
Which came with this in the mail.
Yep.
And it's got a kukri on one side.
I wonder who did this design
on the other.
It's really good, right, Trent? I wonder who made this.
Oh, they did it in color. I didn't know they were going to do that.
Yeah. Mine's number 4. What's yours?
Mine is 42 because, of course, I wanted my coin to be the answer to life. So
the answer.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it has justice and balance on one side, and on the other side, it has the numbering. And there's the number 42 that we got. And this design, originally done, of course, by Tari, is the one who did the art that you see there. Yeah. So, and Emily, of course, in chat was the person who spearheaded the design of this and did an amazing job. And so, yeah. And it's got I forget who it was, Emily, that you said told me this, but it has real heft to it. Which I feel like is this thing has got some heft.
Oh, it was Gregory with the coin in the book room.
In the book room. Heft.
Sorry, that was a little callback joke to a green room conversation.
Yes.
So to address Amal's thing, my tweet thing went viral this morning because there was a thread that was like, post 2 pictures of an actor who demonstrates their range as performers. And so one of the ones that I put a lot of them up there, but one of the ones that I put up, and now I've forgotten who it was, but because I posted a lot of them. But Duncan Jones, who is the guy who made the movie Mute and the movie Moon and the Warcraft movie, he and I both loved the Fully Charged show, and so he follows me on Twitter. And one of the ones that he was like, and as soon as he liked it, it just exploded. So I'm like, oh my god, what's going on? It's just getting all these notifications. I'm like, oh, it's okay, it's that. Okay, fine. And I just kind of pushed that window off to the side. I'm like, I will address that later. And
so Trent, we were talking about guest stars since he follows you on Twitter and all that, and since you guys are best buds. I'm telling you
should get Duncan Jones.
Well, I'm telling you. Can you do that?
You cannot tell me after I've already told you.
Fine, I have accepted what you have told, and now I respond to you.
You're just regurgitating the verb like you said in Twitch chat.
All right, we will talk. We will talk afterwards. I'm making a note to myself while you tell us who you're playing, sir.
Right. Yes. So I'm playing a brand new character. No, I'm thinking of a brand new character though. Anyway, but the one I'm playing right now is a man of Bree named Titch Apothecary. No. English pronunciations. His name is Titch Applebow, and he is a not being paid attention to by the resident German. That's fine. It's okay. It's not like I'm making a joke, calling on her, whatever. All right. Okay. So, yeah, he's a gate captain, for a guard from the village of Bree, and he is very much a staunch believer in law and order and not having wibbly wobbly interpretations of what is crime and what isn't. And so, yeah, we'll see. But he's looking for a bear, and he's getting more and more frustrated. He's rapidly approaching the point of, I believe the kids these days call it, his give a fuck is broken, or it's very close. It's very close.
Especially when he was told last time that the bear thing probably was the result of a prank, to which his general reaction was like, I don't believe this. That dude is part of this mix. So it is going to be fun to see how things are handled with Titch Applebow. Chat, let us talk a little bit about, and I'm not going to summarize all of it, but I will say that in our last session of a conspiracy most cracked, let me just fire up our music here.
Cracked.
There we go.
Like pepper.
A conspiracy, well, cracked like the roof of the house when you broke into it. This place. Wait a second. I somehow have two
It's okay. Amal got it. It's
bits of music. Wait a second here.
The conspiracy is this existence of a bear.
Oh.
In the fellowship phase, I want to look into conspiracy theories and find out how to break people of the belief system that they've fallen into.
They were right. Exactly. I was told by Bear News that there is definitely a bear, and they always tell the truth.
We're gonna have an intervention with trans character.
Oh my
See,
goodness.
I've just been watching Sea Bear and C. Damn it. C and Bear C. That's what I was trying to get to come out of my mouth. This is why I narrate audiobooks, because I say what other people have written and I don't speak for myself.
In this session, they were sent by Bilbo to track down this family heirloom, which was this map that had belonged allegedly to his grandfather, and which was not being handed over by the director of the Matham house over there in the West Farthing. And so the party, after dealing with some obstacles like crossing the river right near their home, and then moving forward to dealing with, going down the road and dealing with, an owl in a barn and all the other previously mentioned stuff, did manage to get into the Matham house and did manage to get the map. It was a near thing. Coriander, while trying to get this, was trying not to wake up the the beast-like. Is it here? Nope, it's not that one. I think I may have deleted that part of it, but this fierce beast that was just, it was dangerous at all levels. So they managed to, Coriander managed to avoid waking up that beast initially. But then there was a problem because the Bounders had come and it basically said, what the heck are you all doing outside of this place? Titch was in his guarding spot where he had been told to stay. And Cal and Granny Lavender were outside, were caught by these Bounders, and the Bounders basically were about to march them off, and Coriander improvised and said, I've got to figure out what I can do, and decided that it was time to pull out the pepper. And used the pepper, which went off like a cloud inside this as I carefully constructed it, knowing that she would do this. I didn't know. It was just a happy accident. Like Big is Ridiculous, I don't often know when my things are going to work the way I intend them to. In this three-sided underside of a desk, ended up causing Firework to go around and do something like the equivalent of yip, 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 I believe is what it was. Went running out of the house, throwing everyone off, woke the entire town up. The entire town was aware. And in the confusion, Coriander and company managed to escape, except for Titch, who left later on after having heard that possibly the bear that he had come seeking was perhaps a scam, but Titch does not believe it and is like, listen, still the process of looking for a bear, and headed back home to Bag End, where Bilbo excitedly looked at the map. He confirmed through Cal that this was indeed the right map. In fact, he talked to Cal a little bit about the makeup of the map, the design of the map, the look of the map, etc., and was very excited, so excited that he then talked to the party about what was happening next. And this is a good moment for me to show off to all of you in chat the Lord of the Rings role-playing Shire Adventures book. I showed this off before, but this game is officially available today, chat. So you can go do this. Free League sponsors us, so please do that. It is !play LOTR. We'll give you a link to where you can pre-order this. It really is a fun system. And I should mention, for those of you familiar with the old Cubicle 7 system, you might be saying to yourself, well, since we just finished an adventure, shouldn't we be doing a fellowship phase? But not quite. Because in this adventure, in this rule set, fellowship phases are slightly different. The fellowship phase will usually take place between seasons, and it is still spring, and so as a result, we do not have a fellowship phase yet, although we will after this adventure to come. I will talk at the time about what things you can do during fellowship phases. However, once per year, it is Yule, after the winter season. And during that time, there is a single prolonged fellowship phase. It means several things: that player heroes have aged 1 year. It also means that player heroes can sometimes get bonus experience, or at other times can heal scars, basically allows them to remove shadow scars and things like that, which they might not be able to do at other times of the year. You might say to yourself, well, what exactly is a shadow scar? I'm glad you asked. When you get shadow points, and they have not yet been in a position to get shadow points yet, when they actually get a shadow point, these shadows are, when they get to a certain level and basically exceed their wisdom score, it means that they have the chance they will become miserable, and they may have the chance to actually lose control of themselves basically at certain points. And when that happens, they will end up removing their current shadow and replace it with a single shadow scar. It is a permanent shadow point, but it can be removed only during a Yule fellowship phase. That's the only time you can actually remove shadow scars. So there's some unique aspects, is what I'm saying, about the fellowship stuff, and we'll come back to that after we finish with expert treasure hunters, but I did want to mention that as a somewhat new tweak on the old system. So while the party was here, after having accomplished things, it's fair to say, I would think, that and Bilbo has not been long, maybe only a week or so, since the party has successfully regained the map, and there has been quite a bit of news about this that's gone everywhere about the Shire. The incident at the Matham House. Some people have called it the Matham House affair. Some people have called it the fall of Firework. There's all these dramatic stories that have come as a result of it. And basically the belief is that some group, and some people say it's a group of men, some people say there's been talk about how there were these mysterious, eagle creatures that could change shape into hobbits, jump into a house, then come out of the house again. Some people talked about the ability to distract. There's been talk about the men of Bree and whether there are some guards of Bree that may be involved in this conspiracy. It's been a lot that's been going on. The Shire has been anxious for news. But Bilbo seems to be mostly immune to all of this, having been staring at poring over this map with some detail. And so, in the year 1360, still the spring of the year 1360, about a week later, you have been staying here at Bag End. Now, I should say that at least for a day or so, while staying at Bag End, there has been some things that have happened as a result. One is that Bilbo has been largely locked up in his study for at least a day. There's always plenty of food. There's always been plenty of food and water, and you've been able to come and go as you please. I imagine that Titch, you might even have had the opportunity, Titch, if you wished, to go back to Bree and come back out to the Shire, because that's why the week, type of thing. I could imagine that might be an opportunity for you. Cal, there's plenty of not only maps there, but also other aspects that you could explore, because you may remember that Bilbo had mentioned something about Bull Roarer Took and his weapon, which might be of some interest, let us say, because obviously Bull Roarer is a famous historical figure in Hobbit lore. Granny, I will also mention that there have been a couple of occasions where you have found several mysterious I'm not going to pronounce this properly. It's not sachet, right? When it's a small little bag of herbs, it's like
Yes, it
SAC.
is.
It sachet still, not sachet? So
Yeah.
sachet of herbs, and some special herbs that you are not familiar with, but they do seem to make a particularly potent tea, Granny. Although you haven't necessarily had the chance to try it out on anybody else yet, but you've had the opportunity, if you wish, to experiment with certain kinds of tea and herb combinations that you might not have been able to do before, thanks to this new. In fact, it doesn't even look, from what you can tell yourself as someone who's done work in this, it doesn't look like it comes from around the Shire, even perhaps beyond it into the Lone Lands. This looks like from somewhere very far away. Could it be even east of the Misty Mountains, perhaps, that this might be available?
So, like, I have to assume that, like, the Shire does, like, trading a lot with, like, other regions, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so,
I
like,
wouldn't. I
she
will.
would have had-
Hold on. Let me back up a little bit. Yes and no. Certainly with local regions, there's certainly a lot of stuff going back and forth between here and Bree, and there are occasional items which get filtered through some of the closer villages and towns that end up there. But one of the reasons that Bilbo is considered so odd is the fact that he brought back so much stuff from, middle of or east of the Misty Mountains. So I wouldn't say that it's like a big trade area, but there's some.
Okay, so yeah, then in that case, yeah, probably would not have had the opportunity to get her hands on these herbs. But though, like you said, we were staying the weekend back end.
Not the whole week, just for a couple of days. This
Yeah, but
is,
like Granny would have definitely gone home for the night. Like,
Yeah,
maybe come back
I
the
assumed
day.
as much. Yeah, no, I assumed.
Okay.
This is about a week later. Yes, and I'll come to Coriander in just a minute, but go ahead. You were going to ask.
Yeah, no, in that case, yeah, absolutely. She would have like snatched some of that while Bilbo wasn't watching.
Yeah, no, it seemed to be left for you at your place, actually.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Yeah, and also like take a little snack for the road every day, because of course Bilbo probably has like some fancier foodstuffs in his pantry than the average person here has.
Probably fair to say. It's more that
Yeah.
Bilbo just has a lot of food than the average person.
Yeah.
His pantry, which has expanded since his return from the Lonely Mountain, is, 3 times the size of a normal hobbit's pantry. And
He's,
a normal
like, always
hobbit's
worried
pantry.
about like a band of dwarves
Just
barging
showing up.
in and
You never
eating
know
all-
when there's just a party. That's right.
Yes.
So there's that going on. And then Coriander, over the last day or so, I would say, you've been hearing this sort of, you're quite good at being able to put your parents off about different things. But in the last day or so, you've heard rumors that your parents, who you haven't seen for the last day or so, have been actively looking for you. Another way of putting this is they've said, tell Coriander to come home at once, and language like this that you generally know that's language that means don't just stay, just like let things calm down a little bit. You're with Granny, you're with family. It's all good, but you haven't been home for a day or so. Just, Bilbo is keeping you, right? Like you've got a place to stay and it's all very safe. And
I think Coriander has snuck notes into her family's home, just saying, "Hi, we're back. I've just got some things to take care of. See you soon." Smiley face. But I can imagine Coriander's parents have like felt a current of air in the house sometimes, like walking into a room and feeling like someone has recently left it.
And you sign the note, Biggless Dickless.
Wow.
This note has gone viral. There's notes in every Shire home.
It's not a bad Hobbit name,
That,
I think.
yeah. They retweet it by
Mary,
sending birds to each
Pippin.
other, and
Biggless. Anyway, yeah. So, but yeah, she, I think is hanging out at Bag End, but periodically, a certain footfall near the door will make her vanish into broom closet, looking for a broom, or not.
Well, there's so many to choose from. It could take you a while.
It's true. Yeah.
So it just came to my mind, and all of a sudden I'm like, I better not say anything. That's
and
awful.
Yet you did.
Oh, but no, not to them. Not to them.
Now they're wondering
Why
what we're
should our
talking about.
viewers get the benefit of your wit and charm?
I wouldn't say that was wit or charm. I would say that's probably Tren rubbing off on me. So I think it's probably what it is. Yeah, exactly. While Tren is staggered by that, I'm going to move swiftly on to talk about what happens here with as we talk about what happens at the end of this little moment with Bilbo in his study. It is the afternoon of the second day since you've been invited. So for a full day, you were invited, showed up, he wasn't there, he was in his study, there was all this food there, woke up the next morning, dishes had been cleared, breakfast was there, eggs Benedict, the whole bit, like everything you want, it's right. And so, but nothing from him until the afternoon. Yes, Granny.
Granny's husband and their dog would have probably tagged along on one of these days.
Okay.
Maybe multiple of them too,
Their dog loves eggs Benedict.
Yes, probably.
It is quite
I've got to
good.
write that down, actually.
It is quite good. Yeah, eggs, but no, it's quite good. As you're sort of there, I would imagine even maybe eating, eating second lunch, so to speak, popping out of his study like a cuckoo from a clock, Bilbo rushes, and that, of course, for chat who's curious, that would be this Bilbo, right there, Bilbo, right there. Bilbo rushes into the parlor where you're all relaxing after a fine second breakfast. Oh, my fault. It was second breakfast. Map still clutched in his hand. Oh, my wonderful friends. Oh, my wonderful friends. You won't believe what I found. Cal, we were right. We were right the whole time. I knew it. I knew that we just needed this information, and now we've found it. You won't believe what I found on the old Took's map. And he opens up the map, and of course you were all now very familiar with this map, having taken some considerable pains to retrieve it. But you now notice, and for a moment, there's a moment, I would say, Cal, of horror, where it looks like he's written all over it. And then you realize that that's not the case, but that he's got this very thin kind of almost tracing paper on top of it. And he's circled some areas, and like there's all these crazy scribbles and things like that with exclamation points and sort of little details and little apparently questions to himself, like could it be, and perhaps here, and even Lobelia, isn't this bad, and little lines like that you see all the way down. And he says, I believe I know where the club of Bandabrus Took is located. He sort of waits for a moment for the air to sort of, and then he says, well,
the club?
The club. Yes, the club. For
you mean they gather and they have food and parties?
No, my dear girl. No. This is a club that's used for, well, to knock some sense into people if need be, or in this case, one of your ancient ancestors, and not all that ancient, mind you. Surely your parents have told you, or at least your granny, and he looks at you, Granny, with this, like, obviously you told her about, Bull Roarer Took. Bull Roarer? He waits expectantly.
Has Granny told Coriander about Bull Roarer Took?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, was he the one who invented golf?
That's right. By knocking the head of a goblin clean off where it went down a hole, and golf was invented. That's right. And he's extraordinary. He lived an incredibly long life, and he was, well, he was really everything an adventuring hobbit should want to be. And I've found what we need. Well, at least the old Took knew where he was located. Well, okay, or rather, he thought he did. Well, maybe the old Took wasn't sure. I don't know. But anyway, and he sort of shakes his head. You almost get the impression like he's jostling things around in there to get them all straight. And he's like, well, never you mind. I might need to do a bit more research, but I was hoping for, nay, counting on your help once again. Now, I have a question here, which is, Titch, has Titch returned at this point? Like, where, I was going to ask you, where are you?
I was just going to say, the scene in, I think, both Lord of the Rings and in The Hobbit when Gandalf shows up and uses his staff to bang on the door.
Yeah.
And I imagine that using that staff, it's probably, boom, boom.
Right,
It's
right.
probably more than just it. Well, basically, that's what Titch does with the hilt of his spear. He's just banging on the door.
Okay.
You know?
And he's like, Coriander, would you be a dear please and get that for me? I'll wait.
Pops up, goes to the door,
Okay. So
opens the door. Titch!
There is a very scowly Titch standing.
Oh, Titch, it's so lovely to see you! And she flings herself around Titch's waist and gives him a giant hug. And then after
Basically
giving the
just
giant
like-
hug, before he can react in any way that is not accepting of this, she will retract and say, "Aaron, look, it's Titch! Titch came back!"
oh, wonderful, wonderful. I'm so happy to have the hero of Bree. Oh, please come back in.
Cal, meanwhile, is like poring over the map as this stuff is going on. He's just kind of like looking at everything, trying to absorb it.
Yeah, and Cal, there's you notice that there are a number of arrows pointing to one spot with an X and then multiple circles and then several other arrows that lead up to the same place.
I
Like,
wonder what he could be focusing
yeah,
on.
he seems to be really
says to
concentrating on this area. You also note, Cal, with some like measure of terror. I'm going to jump out of game for 1 second to make this point. So all of you know the song in real life, Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. So
Never
you will
heard
know,
of it.
yeah, it's very vaguely famous. So obviously, you know, one of the big things about that is this for real life? Where they have multiple harmonies, right? And the way they did was they layered the harmonies on top of each other. Well, this song is being recorded in the time of analog tape, not digital. So as they're recording it, they were literally recording over and over the tape to get this effect. And at one point, the sound engineer felt like there was something sounded weird, and he pulled it open and he pulled over the tape, just sort of like not pulled it, but like carefully unwound this one part to show that he could see through the tape. It was so thin from having been re-recorded. He's like, and they immediately like put it and like, you know, shunted it off to another tape. It was that close because it would have broken and then we would have lost all this incredible work of Bohemian Rhapsody. Why am I telling this story? Because Cal, as you're looking at this, there's a moment where you see what looks like almost a little tear because he's put so many arrows on the tracing paper that it almost looks like it almost went through to the map. You don't think it did, but you can see like the bubbling of the tracing paper, basically like a little more, and he would have scraped right into the map itself.
Yeah.
I don't know if that matters to you, but I'm just letting you know that you see it.
Do I, having been here for a few days, I've stayed here for the most part, do I know if there are more of these pieces of paper?
Yes, you probably would be able to find more, especially on his desk. He uses these quite a bit.
Okay. I'm going to just relay that to Bilbo and say, we probably shouldn't draw on this particular one anymore. Let me just fetch another and I'll make a copy of this one and we'll use that one from this point forward. Is that okay?
Well, certainly,
like,
if you need to make a
excited.
copy. Yeah, he seems like, okay, that's fine. I like that you're doing it already while he's like,
Yeah,
you're
it's like
already
a cloud.
yeah, yeah. Dust cloud.
Yeah, so I go fetch another and I set to taking that one, putting a new one on it and making a new one of it.
Mm-hmm. And yes, it is like a season 2 analog D&D character sheet. Actually, that's very right, Arudnel. I know exactly that
has
feel.
almost rubbed all the way through the. Yeah.
Some of my old Fighting Fantasy game books were like that too. Yep. Okay, so that's the case with that. So Titch, as you are bundled into the room, you can now respond and say whatever you like. But Coriander is there with you.
Titch looks very, very cross. He is not happy, and when he gets in, and he is disheveled, like he's been on the road. You know, to use a phrase that would probably never be used in association with anything like this, there and back again, just the whole time.
A man of Bree's journey, a man of Bree's holiday.
Yeah. And he just is just staring daggers at Bilbo, and he's like, "You."
Yes, me.
You did it, didn't you? You started these rumors that have now gotten me all wrapped up in apparently just bad-mouthing the guards of the men of Bree. This all came from your little heist.
What heist? Oh, what my heist? And he seems like utterly like dumbstruck. Like heist? What did I do? I don't believe I've heisted anything. Have I? He looks at Granny. Have I heisted anything that you know?
Well, that was the whole thing with the dragon.
Well, yes, all right. Well, guilty as charged. Perhaps I am responsible for that. Are you telling me that the people of Dale have finally come to charge me for the crime of stealing the cup from the dragon?
Not
I'll return
Dale.
it. What? Bree? Well, Bree didn't have any treasure in the hoard. The dragon never went to the west of the Misty Mountains.
Maybe they have
imagine-
their own dragon.
No, oh no. This is where Titch would
It
just
just escalates.
no, this is where Titch would say, no, that wasn't a real dragon. That was a guy who got drunk and he was, no, wait. He was like, oh, never mind that. But no, he's not going to say that.
Oh, God.
Coriander says, perhaps Titch meant to say hoist. Have you hoisted anything recently?
Oh, well, I have sometimes. In the morning, I usually hoist something over my head. It's a good exercise. Perhaps that's what you mean?
And I imagine this is probably where Cal is coming back in and just with a very grimy, grungy finger. What's my character? Titch is just about to jam it down on the map. And like, seeing this, I can just picture Cal going, no! Boom!
Like-
Hits the table. That map right there.
Well, what about the map? That's...
You sent these people, and by extension, me, to take it from someone else's property.
But it was not their property. It would belong to my family.
It wasn't their property. Also, they weren't taking good care of it. It was folded, Titch. You didn't see it. You
They
didn't see
were
how
in the
folded.
middle of renovations, maybe some. Look. I am a person.
Titch, you're very upset. Why are you so upset? Are you all right? Would you like to sit down? Would you like a cup of tea?
No. I am maybe some tea.
Get some tea. He goes to
So
make
Granny,
some
Granny,
tea.
I assume is like, here's the tea. Please tell me you give him some tea that's like
No, Granny's just sitting
massive
there like,
mood calming tea, like, you know. Like,
She
Oh,
has
also,
no idea what it does. She's like, here, have this.
I'm so. Oh.
With a
oh,
plate
right,
of bear
the
biscuits
new
next to it.
stuff. No, actually, yeah. Like, yeah, no, that's
Some
a very
bear
good call. I
biscuits.
forgot about that already. Yeah, no, Granny. Oh, this tea is like, it's cold already. Let me go fetch some new one. And like, she stomps off in the direction of the kitchen, with her little dog following her.
Okay.
I come from a very long line of people who maintain and uphold the law. That's what I do. That's what I am. I don't break into people's houses solely on the word of one person to take something that I do not have permission to take from the current holder.
But Titch, you didn't do that.
Right, you were not there.
You didn't do any of that.
But because of you, pointing at Bilbo, sending these people, the rumors that are flying around Hobbiton have now leaked back to Bree,
Nope.
and I'm getting in trouble for them.
Oh, now that's terrible. That's terrible news. No, wait just a moment. And there's a knock on the door. He comes over and opens it to say, first of all, look at these wonderful people raiding from Explore the Beyond. Welcome, welcome. And he waves out to all of them. Thank you for joining us
I'm really
here.
glad it was that. I thought you were going to say it was my cat. I'm like, oh no!
Church, you know. Thank you for the raid so much, and welcome to the adventure. You are currently watching Bilbo Baggins try to talk down an extremely angry man of Bree guard, as we will discuss more stories as we go. Thank you so much for the raid, Explore the Beyond. That's our second raid today. Welcome. So Bilbo, carefully leaving the door just open a crack so the raiders can hear this sound, then comes back into the room and says, now, look, I am really sorry. Titch, it appears there's been a misunderstanding, and well, I feel incredibly guilty about it, frankly. If I had any realization that in any way, well, I know that humans are sensitive creatures, and I should have realized that your understanding of morality would be more carefully defined, and, well, that they're more, well, I learned once about creatures that they were softer in the underbelly. It seems to me that emotionally, I appear to have accidentally poked you in your moral center, and I am most sorry about that. It is not what I intended at all. I can tell you several things. First of all, I have some small name and reputation, and I actually, well, I think you must have crossed paths, but I have already sent messengers to Bree to tell your captain of the spectacular work that you've done. Indeed, from what I have been told by your companions here, were it not for you, they may have been completely lost. It was your bravery, your moral standing that kept them as they were. I understand that you saved an innocent animal from a loss of sleep, and were it not for you, that would have been worse. I understand that you prevented, in part, an owl from being abused by certain other relatives of mine. His eyes kind of flicker over
And,
towards Granny.
With that cue, Granny comes back into the room with a single cup of tea.
And brings it over.
Yeah,
by the
like
way, what
puts-
kind of tea is this, Lavender? Like, is
No,
it
no, this is like made from the strange exotic herbs.
awesome?
That,
Okay. It smells very good, Titch, by the way. Quite pungent, but in a good way. This kind of
pungent, but in a good way.
well, pungent. Like it seems strong, but in a sort of like it fits the mood of Titch. Let's put it that way.
Back in the day when I used
Smells
to work at the
angry. Okay.
when I used to work at the Renaissance Festival circuit and I smoked a pipe, I came across a particular tobacco which was referred to as the dragon's breath because it smelled horrible, but it tasted really good. And so it was like, that's what I imagined, except the other way around. This probably smells fantastic. And the second that, if any of you have ever seen Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo, the scene where he's at the bar with Norm Macdonald with the martini glass, and he like swills the entire contents of this martini glass, and then Norm Macdonald tells him how much that's going to be, and it just rewinds back into the glass, and he puts it back down. And he's like, actually, I'll pass on it. Anyway, same sort of thing. I imagine that he probably smells it, and it smells like it tastes pretty good. He takes a sip, and once it hits his tongue, he's like, and just sort of lets it slide out of his mouth back into the cup and sets it down and makes a show of having swallowed what he, sipped.
Roll for what is it?
Deception?
Yeah, well, like
No,
for
not
perception.
deception. I think this might be a con save, actually.
Ooh.
I think
Wait, does it not taste good?
Well, this is what I was about to say. I mean, it does taste good. It's the aroma too. So what happens is, Titch, this smoke sort of kind of fills, and you were reminded of a moment of sitting at your post. And basically in between guard shifts, when it is the setting sun is over the horizon. Let's call this how about May? On a typical May evening.
I was going to say evening, but
Where
okay, yeah, May
on a
works.
typical May evening, where several of your companions, other guards, are smoking pipes and are chatting with each other. The visibility is excellent. No one's going to sneak up on you unawares. All this type of stuff. And you were reminded of the stories that get told around a fire like that, the camaraderie with some of the guards, the sense that you are doing something you care deeply about doing, and that, at least for the moment, you need not be afraid that you're not doing it right, that you are doing it in the right way. These are some of the sort of emotions, I would say, that are sort of captured. And of course, you don't know. I'm not in any way saying you're mind controlled. I'm just saying that this is the kind of thing that runs through your mind. It is a quite delectable, I think would be the word that I would use for tea. And in case anyone is curious in chat, yeah, you damn well sure can have tea. I've had some that is like this, that has this kind of very positive effect. Just wanted to throw that out there.
The very first time I ever tried Russian caravan tea with just the tiniest bit of cream, that's what that would be for me. It's
Yep.
smoky, sweet. It's very hearth and home kind of
Yeah,
vibe.
exactly.
Instantly relaxes you.
Instantly.
I love it.
So there's a little bit of that, basically, that you get. So as you
Yes,
let it
he
go
does
slip
swallow
out.
it then
Okay.
in that case.
Yeah.
While he's sipping his tea,
Yeah, go ahead, Corinne.
Coriander looks super concerned and like a very, very wide-eyed says, "But what kind of trouble have you been in? I just don't understand. You didn't do anything wrong at all. And even if who's making trouble for you, ultimately?"
That is not the nature of rumor. Rumor doesn't have to be true. It's rumor. That's the way it works. But the rumors abounding are that men of Bree were responsible, at least in part, for the theft at the Matham House.
Ah, absolute slander and libel.
I know that. I
both of
wasn't
them at the same time.
directly involved.
That's terrible. I'm appalled, and I have already referred to your commander and your spectacular work in this, and I will
Doing
provide
what?
more. Well, look, it's like this, Titch. You see, there are rumors and there are counter rumors. When I came back from the Shire, it was rumored I was dead, and in fact, I've still never gotten back all of my spoons and forks. I'm still working on that. I have been able to provide counter rumors that the Sackville Baggins is
Titch is
perhaps
slowly turning to look towards Granny.
that perhaps that Sackville Baggins is not always honest and forthright. Now, it's meant that they haven't spoken to me for some time, but since I don't like them anyway, that's worked out quite well. I am able to provide counter rumors. I have no doubt that this rumor will blow over, especially now that you've arrived just at the right time. Because, Titch, there's something very serious that a guard is needed for. That's right, a guard. You are a guard, yes?
You want me to go get one of the bounders? I can go get you one of the
No,
bounders.
I don't want a bounder. I want the hero of Bree. That's you.
No.
I like that you're doing this with the teacup halfway to your mouth, and he says, all right, now look, here, right down here, after hearing about your little adventure in Michelle Delving, and he's pointing roughly at the map, which Cal is furiously copying at like Xerox speeds to jump out of a game for a moment, like just, bzzz, right? I'd
They
like
have Xeroxes in the Shire?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Out of game. I said just for a moment.
It's old-timey, right? So, obviously.
They call them
Xerox
power
copy bottom, my friend right next door. So he says, after hearing all about your little adventures in Michelle Delving, I'd like a taste of adventure myself. It says here on the map, and he tries to point back to, I'll have to ask Brad when he gets back where Cal has put this, but he's pointing generally in the direction of the map, that the Club of the Bull Roarer, and he turns to you, Titch, Bull Roarer Took, the one who defeated the goblins at the Battle of Graham? Yes, that one. The
Coriander
Bull Roarer...
whispers, he invented golf.
I don't know what golf is.
He says,
Good, you didn't miss anything.
it says here on the map that the Club of the Bull Roarer may be somewhere around the village of Oat Baron in a place called Kingsworthy. Exciting, isn't it? Baron of Oats, worthy of kings? It cannot be. Oh, I'm so excited about it. And I was thinking, perhaps, yes, wait, what is it, Titch?
Baron or Baron?
A baron, Baron. The Baron of Oats, the leader, the commander, the nobility.
Not something that is barren of oats.
No, that would be a horrific monstrosity. I haven't seen
Unless
something
you're growing wheat, then it would be fine.
barren of oats since I went east of the mountains. But no, thankfully, we are not barren of oats here. The Baron, in a place called Kingsworthy. So I was thinking, perhaps in return for my generous hospitality, we could take a walk north and do a bit more investigating into the matter. Imagine it, being credited with being the ones who found the Club of Bull Roarer Took. And there's more, Titch. And he kind of nods and he gets this twinkle in his eye. And probably Granny and Coriander, if you see this, you would know that this is usually the twinkle that Bilbo gets when he's about to land what he thinks is a winning argument. And he says, there's more than that. Because you see, there have been rumors of problems in that area. Problems with those who might raid and attack the civilized people. Up to the north, there are not as many guards available. There's not as many people to protect them. They have, if you will, no shield wall there, and they could use someone with the ability to protect them from these depredations. Finding the Club of Bull Roarer Took would not only inspire them and build their morale and steel them, creating a bulwark for them to come, but also might make it possible for you to explore the what the heck is the name of that thing? The waffle thing? What is that?
Stroop waffle.
Stroop
The stroop waffle that I have
No,
for you right
stroop.
there.
It's stroop.
Stroop waffle. Sorry.
It's
Not an
called
oo,
a,
it's an O.
Immediately,
It's
everyone
called-
in chat stroop waffle with exclamation points. So like it's stroop waffle. I'm like, yes. Sorry.
no, it's called a Stroopwafel.
It's
Keep
stroop
wanting
waffle.
like a strobe light to come on whenever one of them appears.
The strobe
No, it's just
waffle.
Dutch for syrup.
It goes with the hall. Yeah.
He says, so you would in effect be killing two birds with one stone. Not that we kill birds, as we've learned. And I would love for us to do this. Well, wait here. Let me just get you the gear that you'd be wearing to suit a proper adventure. And he disappears in a flash around the corner, leaving you all alone for who knows how long. Probably not long, knowing Bilbo.
So let me get this straight. Bilbo is saying that there are civilized people up north.
And I also got in trouble for the whole bear thing.
Well, there was no bear, so nothing to get in trouble over.
Well, who? I have to ask, with whom are you in trouble?
My captains in Bree.
Your
the ones who
captain?
sent me here to find a bear. I come all the way out here. Basically, my excursion, such as it was, paid for by them to come out here and investigate this request for help to find this bear that everybody seems to keep reporting. And I find out that it's someone with a mop, and the whole thing is a ruse to waste our time and resources, and I get the whole thing laid on my head because I didn't figure it out fast enough.
But,
Well,
Well,
that's
but
that
not
you-
sounds
fair
like
at all.
you need a vacation up north. You know, with the civilized people.
Titch, if you will excuse my saying, so I feel like what you are actually telling us is that the people for whom you work and for whom you labor are not appreciating you and are not appreciating the very hard work that you do for them. And I think that you should spend your time with people who do appreciate you. Like us.
as she says, spend time with people who do appreciate it. He starts to turn towards the door, and then like us, like, oh, and he turns back.
He says, did someone say appreciate us? And around the corner comes a chest. Now, I mean this literally, an actual treasure chest of some kind. Yeah, comes around the corner, and at first you're like, how is this? And then you see that it's actually being held aloft barely by two hobbit
Barely?
legs and feet.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, held by a bear. Here you go. No, and comes over and then like drops it down in front of you and says, "Oh, there you are. Take where you need. It's no knowing where we'll be swept off to." And he turns to dash off again, but turns around back to you, almost laughing at his own forgetfulness. Well, I've muddled my wits staying up all night making a copy of the old Tooks map. And he looks over Cal to see that you're like halfway done with your copy, and he's like, "Oh, well, I thought I was rather fast in copying. Anyway, and he says there's no need to damage the original, so just make sure you do that." And he then rushes off to saying something about his room and a rucksack and something about protection for the road. And so this foot locker really is sitting in front of you on the ground, closed.
Yeah, well, Granny would like nonchalantly, scoot over, open it, and, just rummage around inside.
Inside, you find cloaks, you find backpacks, you find a lot of pocket handkerchiefs.
She's just like-
number of pocket handkerchiefs. You also find a few battered weapons. Specifically, you find 3 staves, which could be used as walking sticks. You find a pair of small hunting bows, which they don't look hobbits. I mean, they'll work for hobbits, but they look a little bit larger than hobbit size. They're not human sized. They might have been from dwarves, maybe. That's quite possible. And there are 2 quivers of 20 arrows each. There's an axe for cutting wood in there, and there is a dagger. Coriander, you see.
People.
Say again.
For cutting people.
For cutting people, yes. You see, Coriander, what you do not see, and you're probably slightly disappointed, is there is no sign of the rumored legendary weapon known as Sting, which was brought back. That is not in this chest. Perhaps there may be a good reason for that, but it is not here in this chest. So you can
Probably
all
on Geedy Prime right now.
Yeah, exactly. So you all can take whatever you like from this. As I say, there's an axe, there's a dagger, there's 2 bows, 2 dwarvish bows apparently, with 20 arrows each. There's cloaks, backpacks, and lots of pocket handkerchiefs.
Is there a partridge in a pear tree?
There is not a partridge in a pear tree. No, I'm not going to re-roll the chest dragon spear. That was handcrafted. It was not procedurally generated. Smart guy. So you can take, if any of you would like to take any of that, you can. These are all functional as the weapon would be in the list. So like what a basic axe would be, what a dagger would be, etc. And go ahead and mark if are people taking anything. Just let me know if you are taking anything or not. Things.
I had already had walking staff and bow in my as a messenger, just kind of for on the road. But I may not have had it like on this last adventure, but I'll kind of restock now with these implements, thinking, these are quite nice and it's a connection to Bilbo. So yeah, I'll do that. So a bow and a walking staff.
Also a couple of writing supplies in there, Cal. A couple of quills in particular that are clearly writing intended. A little dusty, but quite serviceable.
Okay.
Coriander would definitely take a dagger. And she would be looking absolutely for Sting, hoping to find something with a bluish tinge. I think she's heard a lot of stories about Sting from Bilbo and stuff, and has kind of always longed to see it, or maybe even caught a glimpse of it if he used it in a kind of show and tell situation. But I can imagine that for whatever reason, it continues to elude her whenever she is actually in Bilbo's home. And she just has to decide that probably it doesn't want to be found and it's quite happy where it is. But that said, she is very fond of daggers, and she
and she grabs one.
helps herself to one. Just finds one with her name on it, more or less, and then takes that.
Outstanding. What about you, Granny? Are you grabbing anything from there?
Nothing really seems to be needed for her from the things you listed, I think.
There is a battered kettle in there, if that's of any interest.
You could deep fry.
No, she has her own kettle.
Golden.
Okay. Right. Exactly. And as you're sort of all looking.
Oh, is there
through
like
this,
any tobacco in there?
There are a couple of pouches. Yes.
Yes, and she would like snatch some of those for the road.
Of the what is it? The old Withwindle. Might be the name of it. I forget what he calls it in slang.
Well,
now.
like the good stuff is Longbottom and the bad stuff is Southlinch, and there was like a metal tier 1 which I didn't write down.
Yeah, I think it might be the middle tier one I'm thinking about. But so as you're sort of looking through this, Bilbo reemerges and perhaps charges into the room might be more appropriate. Bilbo is wearing a very dusty bluish cloak. And it seems to be kind of like very weather worn and so on. And yet at the same time, it's not dirty. It looks as if it's been just, lovingly cared for and then used a whole lot. And he has got a backpack on his back. He has a walking staff in his hand, walking stick basically in his hand. And at his belt, Coriander, you can catch sight of a sheathed weapon, a sheathed short sword. And he sort of sweeps past all of you and he throws open the front door to Bag End and he says, "Well, come on, we'd best be off." And he emerges out of the charges forward onto the road.
Coriander helped herself to 3 pocket handkerchiefs in different colors, in sort of bright, summery pastels, and that they complement each other, and she has very nimbly and quickly folded each one of them into a cute shape and tucked them into different pockets.
Do you accidentally make one into a bear and then see Titch sort of glancing and you're like, what? Let me just...
No, bears are not in her repertoire of shapes that she makes, but definitely like a couple of birds and...
A brooch, a pterodactyl.
Yeah, there's a swan. I'm trying to think of what other shapes I've seen. A rose. Yeah, 2 birds and a flower.
2 birds and a flower.
Okay.
Okay.
Does Coriander have her spoon?
Oh yes. I mean, I presume, well, she was given, I presume, a spoon, her pick of spoons, but it's actually
Yeah, no, she does have her spoon. Yeah,
Has she
does.
chosen that spoon, and is she bringing that spoon on the road?
I think she is going to bring that spoon on the road. I thought she might take one and want to like hide it, but I don't think you know what? I bet this is what would have happened. She would have said to Bilbo, Uncle Bilbo, I know I said I wanted only one spoon, but I think it's important if we are going to go on an adventure. I chose this spoon to keep safe, but I think I need an adventuring spoon. So I think I would like to request a second spoon.
He does actually provide you a second spoon, and it is a very nice second spoon. And he says quickly, he says to you, if you're ever able to find a companion to that, perhaps if you're speaking to one of the Sackville Bagginses, let me know. It may have some connection. And without he's out the door. And I want to bring chat and my players, of course, to two places. First of all, they're already on the map. So this is the map of Eriador. And here they are in the Shire. But they are going to be going north. And so it is my great pleasure to bring you to a new map. So if we start down here and head to the north, I believe it is. Yes. So this is Bag End, as people may be able to note right now. And the path that Bilbo is traced out, which he works through with you, Cal, in terms of how to do it, basically follows this dotted line to get to Oat Barton. Sorry, not Oat Baron, Oat Barton. I beg your pardon. So was that whole thing about Baron was never even an issue. It was Oat Barton. I thought it was a little odd as I was saying it. I'm like, I don't even think Oat Barton. So the way that they have recommended that is to go on the East Road, take the road to Bywater to the south, then go on the East Road, and then take the Northway Road once you get up here, all the way up to Oat Barton, which is here, and then if all goes well, hopefully on further up to Kingsworthy and where the where Bullroar Tooks Club may have been found. It's important to note, by the way, that this is probably a 3-day journey by leisurely walk, but it's more than worth it, as Bilbo assures you, when it's about getting the club for Bullroar Took, and, as always, hastens to add, Titch, and guarding the people from the depredations of whatever they face.
I love, by the way, that Titch's tile is like looking at the map in scared fashion, as if he's not ready for this adventure. In the bottom right,
he's just like, ah. Yeah, that's right.
What are we gonna see?
That's true. I should
I
actually
don't know what to
zoom
do without
out a little bit
bears.
so let me see if I can show that. Because I went. Okay, can you bring that up a little bit, Trent, so I can see?
I'll bring him up to about here.
Can you go left slightly? Bring it to here. There you go. Now chat can actually see it. So that is Titch's token down there at the bottom right. That is funny. Okay. So, the sort of walk that you're taking is part of this. Now, it is important to recognize that there are events that can happen in the Shire. And there's a special mechanic for this, which we call hobbit walks. It's important to recognize that there is, if you're some famous man, let's call you Aragorn, or you're some, dowdy dwarf, Thorin Oakenshield or something, or you're a wandering elf like Legolas, you would not think of traveling through the Shire as anything more than a pleasant stroll. Like, there are no real natural dangers, the people are courteous, the worst you could ever get into trouble with is if you maybe drink too much at a tavern, right? There's just not much that's likely to happen to you. However, the hobbits sometimes will run into situations where on a hobbit walk, they will have particular events that occur. And so what I'm going to ask here is for one of you, it's up to you who you want to choose, to roll a D20 for me.
This is like the old second edition random encounters table?
A little bit. The Hobbit Walks table is specific, but it only works in the Shire, and it only really affects it when you're dealing with a majority Hobbit party.
I'll do it. I want to roll a die. So it's 1d20?
Yes.
All right. Ba-boing.
Ah.
16.
So, as you move along
16.
Down the road on this 16 roll, it is a very peaceful journey. In fact, according to the table, it is a pleasant stroll as you go along. There's nothing in particular adventurous that happens, although it is important to note that although it is spring, the last hints of winter still nip at your toes. I think mid-April, we're not quite there, we're a little bit past that now, but like mid-April might have been appropriate for this. For us, well, I don't know, actually for Amal, I'm sure it's already still winter nipping, but for those of us down here where the weather was in like the 50s Fahrenheit or whatever, it felt like that kind of mid-spring, mid to late spring perhaps. So I shouldn't say late spring, mid-spring. So the last hints of winter are still nipping at the toes of the party. And once you get to the heart of the village, the houses there of Bywater as you're heading down below, you can, as you're sort of heading over to the North Farthing, you can see as you're down on the road that there is a small group of people who are gathered around what looks like something. It looks like a cart, but the cart does not look to be right. There's something weird about it. It seems to be off center or sort of tilted. And there seem to be 4 hobbits who are talking with one, maybe it'd be best to say ill-favored man, who's kind of, grunting and growling at them. You can't quite make out what it is, but they seem to be all pretty agitated and sort of yelling at this ill-favored man who responds with a couple of short, comments and not much else. And this is right ahead of you on the road as you're moving on to the East Road, just about to get to the East Road, actually. You can see this cart just about in the middle of the road. You could also ignore it and just go past it if you want. But.
Is it an open bed cart?
It does appear to be, because the hobbits and the man are sort of in front of it, you can't quite get a good glimpse of it. So you don't know if there are walls. It's certainly not a super tall cart. But you can just see the side walls of it. You don't know whether the other side of it is open, but you could just sort of see the side walls. It appears to be tilted somehow.
Is there anything visibly in the cart?
Make a perception check for me, please. I'll have you do this at -2 because you're a little bit of a distance.
Okay. Sorry.
I'm short.
And short. Yes. Perception.
Oh, wow.
That's a 20.
20 with the big old 22 combined. Yeah, it does look as if there are like what look like leaves of some kind that are kind of flowing, some kind of brownish leaves that are flowing out of the cart and maybe onto the ground, which as far as you know, Coriander, is not the way carts work. I mean, you always thought this stuff is supposed to stay in the cart. But a lot of them seem to be on the ground next to the cart.
And they're like, they're brown leaves. Like, I'm just trying to get a sense of like.
They remind you of what Granny often is using. Either.
Oh, okay, so it's not like garden refuse. It's
no,
like
no,
okay,
definitely not.
Interesting. So Coriander is gonna like
raw tobacco.
Coriander is like peering forward, and she's like, "Do you see like that cart seems to be full of leaves, Granny? Does that look like those like your what you put in your pipes and your herbs and things?"
Did some of the leaves like fall like in pickup distance?
Not yet. You'd have to get closer, because you can see it from a distance. They're definitely all around the cart.
Coriander is just gonna
how is
saunter
the
over.
wind going currently? Like, is there maybe a whiff coming?
Just
in
a
our
breeze. Just a breeze. You don't smell anything yet.
direction? Okay.
If anything,
Yeah.
it's going away from you.
Granny would go, nah, I'm not sure. I would need to get closer.
I'm gonna get closer. Coriander's just gonna like saunter over.
Cal, you were going to say?
Oh, well, I was going along the tobacco lines as well. Yeah, same thing. You want to get a little closer and see what's going on. Maybe talk to them once we get a little closer, hear what they're saying.
Okay. So when they get when you get closer, you can hear.
I'm checking the axle, by the way, too. If it's tilted,
Yes.
I'm guessing the wheel is off.
That
or
is
something.
exactly right. In fact, the axle is cracked, and you can see that as you get closer, there is this very kind of, I guess the way it would be sort of like just a very taciturn donkey at the front of the cart who's just sitting there and like, and chewing chewing on something, and occasionally looks over its shoulder. And you can see that there is a large rock in the road over which the axle has cracked. And the four hobbits, as you get closer, are clearly arguing with the man about something relating to the cart. And as you get closer, one of them says, "That's not what you would have charged us if we weren't in this spot. You're not helping us at all. We're needing some help, we're telling you. We don't have anything right now. We can pay you more when we get back." "Getting me paid when you get back won't do much good. I'm looking for payment now. You want help getting this thing moving again? Getting this axle fixed? Well then, you'll see what you can do about paying me. I know you got more there in your purses." "No, we don't. We don't have any such thing. And this rock wasn't here, a week ago. I wouldn't be surprised if you were the one who put this in the road." "Well, that's the kind of accusation that could get you in trouble with your sheriffs. I don't think they much like people falsely accusing others of something they were responsible for."
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the stuff you hear as you get closer.
Having come from the Shire, do I recognize any of them?
I would say that a couple of them do look familiar, although they might be just sort of from they might be from Bywater and therefore don't get up that much into Hobbiton, maybe, Cal.
Okay.
But they seem possibly familiar. The man looks completely unfamiliar. About Titch's size, though. Somewhere about Titch's size, maybe a little taller. In fact, looks a little like Titch, a little bit.
All humans look alike.
Yeah, right. It's all this.
Those
It's
hobbits.
all men of Bree, but looks.
I'm going to approach.
Okay.
And just say, hey, friends, what's happening here?
Ah.
You seem to have a bit of trouble.
And the man doesn't say anything, and they say, "Well, we have a bit of trouble. We're trying to bring this here. We got some of this that we have to dry these leaves after the harvest, and we're bringing them back, and all of a sudden, well, he spooks," and he points at the donkey, which is the idea that the donkey has spooked since birth seems unlikely to you, but anyway, and they claim and he says they spooks, and all of a sudden starts running down the highway as fast as you please. Well, he runs down here, and the next thing we hear is this awful crack, and then it turns out he brought a cart right over the axle. And look at all the crop. Well, half of it's down on the ground now. How are we going to get it back? And then this man here just appears out of nowhere, nice as you please, comes out and says he'll fix it for us if we give him 50% of this stock. And
That just seems ridiculous, says Coriander.
And the man sort of, the man who looks a little bit like the donkey actually kind of, says like, "Well, not
looks
as
like a donkey?
not as ridiculous. No, not Titch. Not as ridiculous as people getting into business that ain't theirs. I offered to help. If they don't want it, I'll be on my way."
Well, I think that there is a robust and competitive free market here, and I think that we could offer our services to help you fix this cart for free. Would you prefer that? She says to the people whose cart has been busted.
"You're trying to break down the repair market," the human says. And Titch, as you get closer, suddenly you think you recognize this guy. This is apparently, if you're right, a man named Roger Blackwell, and he lives in Bree and is often seen in the company of Bill Fernie. Now, Bill Fernie is bad news. You know this because you've often been called to deal with issues relating to Bill Fernie. Bill Fernie tends to spend a lot of times with men from outside of Bree, sort of strangers who glower at you darkly and don't really answer your questions and all that stuff. And all the guards of Bree basically know that Bill Fernie is kind of a he's always cunning. Like you can never move against him directly because it's not like he does something that's completely illegal, but it always feels like he's right on the edge, sort of skirting the grounds of stuff. And he'll rip people off for as much as he can get away with without, actually falling afoul of the law. So this guy has been in Bill Ferny's, this guy, Roger Blackwell, has been in Blackwood, I think I said. Roger Blackwood has been in the company of Bill Ferny quite a bit.
Doesn't Bill Ferny also mistreat ponies?
That from Titch's experience, absolutely.
Which Titch would absolutely know since he's also part-time
Yep.
hostler at the guard. Yep.
Does Granny recognize any of the hobbits here?
I would say probably the same as Cal would. That they might like the faces do look a little familiar, but not where you can call them to mind. You probably have seen them pass by, but they're from south of Hobbiton, and you have certainly been down that way before, but like nothing where you're like, oh yeah, you're so and so. But they do look somewhat familiar to you.
Also, she would then go pick up some of the leaves from the ground and inspect them closer to see what exactly this stuff is.
You immediately smell the delightful to you anyway, fresh, slightly sweet smell of tobacco freshly harvested.
Can she tell what kind of tobacco?
Let me see. Yes, make a nature check. Medicine check.
I have pipe weed as a, what's it called? As a
feature. Cultural virtue trait. Yeah.
As
remind me.
Thingamajig, if my character sheet would load, Roll20 is very slow today. As a tool proficiency there. Pipes.
Okay.
As a tool proficiency. Also herbalism.
So then, let me have you make then, please, a medicine check for me, but do it at advantage.
A medicine check.
So while she's doing that, Kitch is going to lean down to...
thank you for the advantage.
I'll come back to that in a minute. Go ahead, Titch.
Yeah, no kidding. For those of you listening at home, that's a 13. The other was a natural 1.
Yeah.
So, Coriander, that's her name. Yes, you. Kind of leans down and is like, could you? Because she said, we could fix it for free, and just leans down and says, could you?
It doesn't seem that complicated. I'm sure that between all 4 of us, we could probably figure out a way to do it.
Well, I don't know any carpentry, so.
I'm forgetting if I think we said Coriander's parents are potters, but I can't remember. That might have actually been a slightly rejected backstory. I don't know what. I'm just assuming it's like changing a tire on a car.
Well,
Titch has carpenter's tools because he's used to working on the gates.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
he could probably
for all
do
those times like large black horses kick those
exactly.
over.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
All right.
Never
So
happened to him.
let me just see what I actually put on my sheet in terms of things.
Okay.
I mean, she is very, 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 very dexterous, and she has sleight of hand. She can pretend to be
sleight of hand.
Maybe-
She can pickpocket the cart.
Juggle the action back into
Yeah.
No.
Is she dexterous enough to thread the sewing machine while it's running?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Okay, good.
No, let's see. I mean, wait, I don't actually see what the skill would be here. I don't have on this sheet what.
Well, so.
Oh wait, no, there are additional ones. I forgot. Okay, let's see. No, even there, I don't really see carpentry as an option for a skill.
So.
Survival? Maybe?
That
I don't
wouldn't
know.
carpentry would be a tool proficiency. That would be woodworking tools or something
Right.
like that.
Got it.
And I think we'll talk about the impact of that in a minute. I do want to mention Granny, one of the things that you note about this is there is a particular kind of tobacco which is only made in a certain part of the Shire, and it has to do with 3 farthing stone, which is basically to the east of where you are. The reason you know this is they clearly said harvest, but as I clearly mentioned to you, this is the spring. And you normally do not harvest items in the spring, but there's one exception, which is that there is a particular kind of tobacco which is made which is grown near 3 farthing stone, which is kept in a sort of greenhouse over the course of winter. And then when it is taken out of the greenhouse in the spring, it is brought back, left to dry in the sun, and then is basically, packaged and treated and all that stuff, and then used as tobacco in the summer months. This tobacco is, you talked about middle tier. To use Pokemon analogy for just a moment, this is S tier, okay? This is the best tobacco. I'm of course saying this as someone who's never smoked in his life, but this is the best tobacco. It is a
like even better than Longbottom.
Oh yeah, it's better than Longbottom, and it's very unusual because it has very small harvest window, and as I say, it only grows in certain places. So this
What's the name of
is
this?
a lot of his stuff. You would probably call this the name of it is 3 stone. Tobacco. There are definite slang names that you might be able to think of, but 3 stone is the name of the tobacco. This is actually stuff which gets sold in Brie as well.
Then while the other gentlemen are distracted, she would just grab some of that, put some in her pipe, and have a smoke just to be sure that this is really the good stuff.
So it hasn't been dried yet.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It hasn't been dried yet, so it's like this dark.
Okay, never mind.
I was gonna say, I'd love you to
Thought
just
it
keep
was
going.
dried.
No,
Okay,
they're
never
going
mind
to
then.
dry it. They have taken it out of the place. Yeah.
Like because you said the leaves were brown, so I'm assumed they were.
They are brown. That's how but they're not light brown. They're dark brown. They are light brown
I
once they're
don't
dried.
know tobacco. I don't smoke. I have a pipe, but I don't smoke actually. Like I find smoking
Same
incredibly
on all counts.
disgusting.
Me
Like,
either.
ugh, no.
But yeah.
No, in that
The
case.
leaves are probably also.
But she would
big fig.
still bag
Oh.
some of that stuff because she can try it at home.
It is true though that these are big leaves, so just keep in mind you need to crumble them. And at the moment they're not particularly crumbly; they're damp because they're being brought back to where they're going to be dried.
Yeah, she would then I guess fold them up and put them in a.
You could definitely do that,
tortilla.
although they're at the moment they're more occupied with arguing with the guy. So
Yeah,
so
she's
you're
not gonna fold up the guys. She was gonna fold up some of the leaves.
Yes, no, I know the
it
leaves to
doesn't
the guy.
matter that
Hang
they are
on.
preoccupied.
You might be folding up the guy in just a minute because Titch is kind of taking exception to that.
okay.
But yeah, so having a look at and for one, he sort of once he checks with Coriander to see if could we actually do this. He's also looking at the actual to see if it's something that he thinks he could fix.
Yes. Make an investigation check for me, please.
Okay.
Coriander will say things like, I'm very good at taking direction. I have seen many carts, and I know what they look like when they work, and this one is clearly broken.
Sorry.
As I'm saying, clearly broken. And I think that surely by knowing what a functional cart looks like, between the 4 of us, we're all very clever. We could probably make it work.
we're
And personally, because we don't have expertise in the subject, we would not be charging an artisan's fee. We are just helpful travelers wanting to help our fellow travelers.
Right. We're trying to reach them about their cart's extended warranty,
Yes.
which is exactly who's calling Arv right now.
Yeah.
Which apparently
Yeah,
that call's not
probably.
going well. So no.
Oh dear. But yes.
Looks like he doesn't understand how to answer a phone. He's probably the house he lives in is pretty old, so it's probably one of those ones where you have to crank it and say Warfield 356 connected blah 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 blah.
It is pretty astonishing how telephone technology has degraded over as all of our other telecommunication infrastructure has transformed. We want to get a landline into this house that we have just moved into.
So you can actually hear
Landline.
people.
Yes, I can actually hear people also, so that if the power goes out, I don't have to worry about the charge on my phone and stuff. But
Yeah.
There was
Um,
something Dragon Spirit just said about be strong, swipe to answer, and then just say no. The other thing you can do that just, in my experience, works very, very well is if you answer a call that you don't know who it is and you say, this call is being recorded, and they're like, click, and you're like,
Actually, it's a funny thing. We definitely want to get a landline, but because the world has changed, we also have to figure out ways to block calls between certain hours. Like, because there are so many robocalls and things now. So if you want to not be woken up in the night by your phone, and don't want to have to remember to like unplug and replug your phone, then like Stu is actually researching what options you have for instance, putting your phone on the same network as a Raspberry Pi and like filtering out all but certain numbers and stuff. And I'm like, God, I just really want normal landline technology to not have fallen out of use. Like, just a good quality phone call would be so nice. Would like to be able to hold this device up to my ear and hear people instead of needing a pair of very expensive wireless headphones to go in to make the call quality passable and stuff. It's just enshittification, as Cory Doctorow calls it.
Or what you do is you unplug the handset, the coily cord that goes in, and then you just take the handset off the thing, so that even though it's off the hook and it would normally be going or whatever, but the handset is unplugged so you can't hear it. But when you pick up the thing, that's when we realize that we've completely beaten these guys. They've given us all of the tobacco. The donkey loves us.
I don't think any of this happened.
I'm not talking to you.
No,
and,
I'm sure.
Has heard what we did for the other donkey. And
Yeah.
so,
You were the heroes of donkeys. Yes. Sorry about that. My daughter is one of a very few freshmen in the state of Connecticut who's going to be taking a AP World History exam on Thursday, and so she is a little, just a teensy bit stressed, apparently about it.
You know what? She should try dealing with donkeys.
Yeah, that's true. With donkeys and axles are certainly far worse. So, anyway, sorry about that. So, we were the investigation check. Okay, yeah. A couple things you noticed then, Titch. When you go down there, you went and you're looking at the axle. You do think you might be able to at least brace it enough. It's got this sort of like, it's a clean crack basically. So you think you can kind of move it into place and essentially lash it together using some leather straps to hold it in place. However, the thing that strikes you about this is that this axle could only have had a clean break like this if it hit with considerable force, meaning that it must have been going at quite a speed when it actually struck this boulder, this rock, which you can clearly see in the middle of the road. So, yeah.
So two things.
Yeah.
In my travels as a messenger, do I know close by, and because we're by Bywater, right?
Yeah.
Do I know a wheelwright in this area, this immediate area?
Probably yes. You would probably know a wheelwright. And Bilbo, of course, remember Bilbo's with you. So Bilbo is kind of like, kind of shaking his head. And he also looks slightly impatient, like he wants to help, but he also clearly wants to get moving. But, if you didn't, certainly you would expect that Bilbo would. And yeah, so you think there is a wheelwright back in town that they could probably be brought to. But this man, this sort of ill-favored man is kind of glowering at you when you're looking at when you're sort of looking around at these things. Not just you, but the whole group.
Yeah. I would like to use either animal handling or maybe perception, whatever is more appropriate, to look at the donkey and just see if there's anything amiss. I'm looking for like scrapes, even a sign of blood maybe, or anything odd.
There's a little yes.
Leaves.
Let's have you make a animal handling.
Not bad.
15. So the donkey seems kind of like, and as you get over, you notice that the donkey does seem like very, this again, it's hard to believe this thing ever got this agitated. But as you're kind of moving around, you can see there is something odd about its back right flank. And, or not flank, I should say haunch, really. And when you go to it and you look, you sort of trace your hand down carefully, and you find a very small, almost what feels like a needle. And it appears to be a small dart, which is in the haunch of this thing.
Making sure to sort of cover it up from where the man is standing. I'm going to wave the owners of the cart over.
Okay. Well, some of them are occupied. I mean, you could probably get one or two of them. Like some of them are actively talking with the guy.
Yeah.
But
how many are there?
Four.
Four.
Four hobbits.
Yeah, really. The closest. I'm going to call them over.
Okay. And so one of them comes over and, yes, young master. Sorry, we're trying to occupy ourselves getting this thing working.
We have a bit of an issue here. I was taking a look at your donkey and just take a look at this. And I just point to it before I do anything.
He kind of squints his eyes. He looks like an older hobbit. He squints his eyes. Well,
do you know anything about this?
Oh no, it looks like something in there. It's a Kushuri dart, and you can find out more if you buy from Athos Arts, the silver medal winning. No, so he just turns the camera, and the whole thing is an advertisement. I'm so tired of this guerrilla marketing. It's just no.
And now we cut to commercial.
Wow.
We pause this.
Gray shade emerges from the road, like no. No, but he looks at it and he's just like, it does look like is that a dart? Oi!
I believe it is.
Well, what's it doing here?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
And he kind of looks up and he's, hey, come over here, you. And the other three hobbits sort of, what, Dad? We're not doing. Oh, come over here and don't argue. And so one of them comes over and, yeah, what is it? And he says, well, look, this one right here found this. And he points to the thing, and his son kind of looks over and, what is that, dart? That's what it is. It's a dart, it is. And they sort of look back over. Now, Granny and Titch and Coriander, please make perception checks for me.
Sure.
Dun, dun, dun.
Very nice.
Okay. Good stuff from Granny. Coriander's maybe a little bit more occupied with the cart.
Maybe.
And Titch.
Okay. What did you say?
I said perception, please.
It's perception. 17.
Granny and Titch, you notice that the man is slowly making his way off the path. Like basically just, like kind of.
And
like he's Homer Simpsoning into
the
bush.
kind of literally in the bush. Like.
Since Granny was not standing right in the center of, can we say that she's like standing in an opportune position to, just move a walking stick a bit to the side so that he would trip over it while he's walking backwards?
Well, it depends on whether you're doing it as like an attempt to trace him down, or if you're sort of
I'm trying to trip him.
Whoops him. Okay, so I'll come back to that. I want to know what Titch is doing first, so I can decide what order.
I was going to say, Titch is basically, knowing this guy.
Yeah.
It has basically got himself positioned where he's just going to kind of extend his spear behind the dude, so he just backs up into it.
Okay, so
Titch is just going to be like, not the point of his spear, just he's got he's got the haft of the spear. Backs up into it.
So I like the idea that both you and Granny both have your the walking stick and the spears. Yeah, basically connect by our powers combined. I think Granny, you're slightly disappointed that he doesn't trip because Titch's spearhead also means that you're just sort of blocking him off. So he kind of bumps into it, and then he's like, "Oi, what you?" And then he sees you, Titch, and his eyes just slightly widen a little bit. And he's like, "Hi, it's Titch. It's Titch from Bree. What are you doing here? Sorry, wrong voice. It's Titch from Bree. What are you doing here? He says, I'm just, let me go. You got no jurisdiction in these parts. I'm just on my way. They don't want my help. I don't need to give it to them.
And Titch reaches, his spear is still right where it was. And I figure the beauty of the scene for me is that, he bumps into Titch's thing, but Granny still has her spear like down by his ankles.
Yeah.
So that if he bolts, she just whoop, puts it in front of him and knocks
Right.
him down, is how I'm picturing it, instead of both of us kind of cross. Anyway, so Titch reaches into his belt and pulls out his Michelle Delving coin.
Okay.
His sigil of Michelle Delving, the Bounders.
Yep.
That he was given, for the thing, and he's like, on the contrary, I do have jurisdiction here.
What? Since when are you a bounder? He says.
That is none of your business. This, I believe, is.
I was just here trying to provide some assistance, and that was all my job is in this. Now, by this point, Cal, some of the hobbits have gone over, several of the hobbits have gone over and are like glaring at the guy. And the older hobbit that you originally pointed this out to sort of is like carefully like just takes the sort of dart out. And the donkey kind of like that's the biggest reaction that you get from the donkey. And he brings it over and he kind of looks up and he says, Oi, it looks like there's still something on tip of this besides blood. And he brings it over this way.
Cocaine!
Cocaine
Granny
Donkey,
would,
the great sequel.
like to have a closer look at that.
Okay, Granny, as you look at it, how do you want to try to examine this thing?
So this is like a needle with some blood on it, and what's like the obvious thing about it? What's the other thing on it?
So there's you can see that there's a slight fletching, I believe it is, in the back. Just a slight little, like very small. And it clearly is intended to be not easy to see and easy to conceal when you are taking it out for use. Because otherwise, most darts have sort of larger fletching or larger fletch, whatever the term for that is. The feathers on the back, right? This one has smaller ones. And the dart itself also, you can see just looking at it, has kind of a hollow tip, which is typically not what a dart that you would like play at a dartboard in a tavern would use.
Hey, Titch over there, can you please go search our friend here if he happens to have like some kind of blowing pipe or something on him?
Can I actually, I wanted to suggest before you ask that Coriander like have slipped up around him and just sort of helped herself to searching him.
Whoops!
Sideways inching up behind him.
Yeah.
And maybe look
just-
for a vial of some kind or something.
Yeah, just to see if she's like, like this, essentially, if she's successful.
Let's have you make a sleight of hand check.
Ooh.
What this reminds me of is in the movie Legend with Tom Cruise and the incredible Tim Curry, when the goblins are about to dart the unicorn and it pries open the mouth of that frog that it uses as the poison thing, and dips and pulls it out. There's just this glop of crap on it. That's the name of it.
Yeah. And so actually, you do in fact, Coriander, manage to sneak around and relieve him a couple of objects that clearly needed relieving. There are two things that you note. One, there is a second dart. Two, you do find a small little vial of liquid.
So Coriander
Sealed, obviously.
I cannot stress enough, like the second that Granny says like, Titch, would you like search him and stuff, Coriander just like appears and is like, you mean like these things?
Like this? The Necronomicon. Like
Why, yes, thank you very much, my dear. And she like rummages in her pocket and gets out like a caramel.
and so the man says, the man's like, oi, and then he stops.
Okay. Yeah, like she like gives Coriander the candy, like a word Vatas. original. I don't know how you say it in English.
Yeah,
Werther's?
Werther's.
Werther's originally, yeah.
Yeah.
I love them.
Like the equivalent of that, just like some homemade caramel, I suppose.
Okay.
And yeah, she would like smell the needle and also smell the liquid in the bottle to like see if it matches up.
Medicine check for me, please.
Yes. And like also try and see if she can get anything from that
And
right from the get-go.
Coriander, also make an insight check for me, please. This is based on the reaction the guy had.
I was gonna say Titch is primed. He is high strung watching
Yeah,
this dude.
Yeah. And I'll come back to that, Granny, in just a minute.
That is a 13.
I think that's enough to say that when he said the whole oi thing, you thought you saw a sparkle, a glimpse, a glimmer of recognition. Like, hey, and then stopped. Like, what are you doing with my you know what I mean? That kind of deal.
What are you doing with my deadly poison, man?
How dare you take the thing I must pretend that I don't have? Yeah.
Yeah, while Granny is doing this medicine check, Coriander is like, I mean, she is so like happy and charming and stuff all the time, but she is actually looking like daggers at this man. She's like,
while chewing on her caramel, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
yeah.
Looking
She's
very much like the
absolutely-
donkey. Just like a montage cut from Coriander to the donkey, like the other way.
She is looking at him, and she is like try what she would say if she didn't like. Were she not chewing or sucking on a lozenge thing, what she would say is, "How dare you? How dare you hurt an innocent donkey with your vicious, terrible darts, you horrible, horrible man." But instead what comes out is, "How dare you? How dare you? Sweet."
So instead, he kind of gives you this confused, what like, as you're saying this to him.
Coriander looks to Titch and goes, "Tell him."
Before you respond, Titch, to take in one more bit of data from Granny. Granny, almost certainly you've seen herbs like this and medications that are used before. They are basically something that in the trade might be called adjutants, things that are designed to temporarily create like a spasm, sort of like a spasm in the muscle that can cause something to like, not to drive them mad, like permanently damage them, but to like flip them out for a brief period of time. And they are designed, this stuff is, it's a little crude, but this is the kind of stuff that is useful because once it's used, it quickly tends to disappear. It doesn't, stick around very easily, and it can be administered in small doses. And if you want a very limited effect, it will do that.
Okay.
It's also
and, like, I'm
not so great
certain-
as stuff.
Am I certain that this is like the same stuff in the bottle and on the dart?
You're pretty confident that it is, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you'd have to do full checks and everything, but you're pretty confident that it's similar, yeah.
My dear, what was your name? And she like points at the dude.
And he says, "Our name's Roger. There's no crime in having that name or
Titch.
being on this road."
Titch nods in confirmation that is in fact his name.
Right, Roger, my boy. And she like steps up to him and like pockets the vial in the meantime. How did you what did you need this for? Was this in your possession?
I ain't seen that before in my life. She must have come up with it. And he kind of looks over at Coriander. It's not mine.
Right. Coriander, my dear. Did you happen to have this vial before you took it from this man?
No, I took it out of his butt. She like points to the places on him where she took it out.
Right. So, Roger was in here, yes? So do you think I'm gonna believe some, frankly, quite shady individual that I just met, or my dearest little granddaughter, who can do no wrong?
It's not my problem if you want to believe your granddaughter. I'll just be on my way if you people treat people who are trying to help like this, then.
Oh, will you be on your way? And like Granny steps up further to him and just puts like her staff onto his toe.
Does she like smash it down or just like?
Well, like no, like she's not like trying to break his toe, but you
Right,
know,
just-
just like some.
Ugh.
She gets wobbly and needs to put her weight
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
whoops! I apologize. No.
And just like tries to give her a death stare from down below.
At this point, the other hobbits, by the way, have gathered. So now he's facing down 7 angry hobbits plus Titch, which is a little bit more numbers than he had been planning when he was just dealing with. And he's like, all right, well, maybe I have it for medicinal purposes. I was bringing it back to my grandmother, what lives off to the west. It's none of your business
Grandmother.
anyway. Yeah.
Does she have like anger issues in the sense that she never gets angry, or why would she need this?
It's medicine. She said she needs it to keep herself calm. That's all I know.
Oh, it makes you calm. Well, you seem very agitated right now. So she the dart that she was still holding and stabs him with it.
So he's like, "Oi, what the?" Huh! Now, Titch.
And then
So
steps back.
Now we have a problem.
yeah. So he just like now what he's trying to do is book it in another direction across country. Now I don't know what you want to do, but this is definitely you get the impression this isn't 100% voluntarily.
Trip him.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I would love it if he was stabbed in one leg and he could only go in a circle now because one leg is going faster
Well, I
than
mean,
the
it's
other.
just a tiny dart, right?
Somewhere in the
But
distance
yeah,
you
Granny
hear.
would try to trip him.
No, just kidding. Are you trying to trip him, Titch?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
Okay. Go ahead and make. Let's see. This is attack roll, I think.
Oh, yeah, it's a shoving attack, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, it's like medication, like PCP. Exactly, Rudnell. It's that kind of medication.
would it still be using my spear?
I would think so, yeah, because you're using it to not, pierce him with it, but to trip him with it.
Right, so we won't consider this piercing damage. It'll be
Bludgeoning?
14 is enough. So actually, let me have him make a dexterity check and saving throw and see if he stays on his feet.
Well, I mean, but does he like get disadvantage or something because he's like basically on drugs?
Or does he get hyper advantage because he's
so much advantage. He gets more
Yes,
advantage.
because people get more dexterous the more agitated they are. as
No,
we
but they
all
think
very
they
well
do.
know.
I'm the top of the world. Okay. Okay. You rolled just a 14, or that was the full attack, right? The 14.
That was a 14 was a full attack.
Okay. So so he does not. So he basically he sort of like takes a step and then and goes flying and just
Face first into the rock.
yeah, not onto the rock, but onto the road and just lies still. And and so you sort of the hobbits, everyone just sort of stands staring for a minute, and then very slowly the donkey turns around, like slowly moves the cart, pulling it behind him, walks over slowly,
over.
step by step,
Twice.
puts one hoof on top of the man's back, and then doesn't move.
Granny would like walk up to the guy and like pinch him to see if he is like properly passed out,
Unconscious.
unconscious. Perfect.
Also, the donkey's not putting his weight on him. He's just sort of like, it's the Captain Morgan thing where he's got his leg up, right? He's got the...
Coriander, my dear, would you be so kind and tie our friend here up?
And the hobbits say...
Coriander's eyes light up.
Coriander flies to the side of the guy.
Yeah, just draw our attention to the fact that, the light that is currently filling this room. I wish for you to all bear in mind that this is the angelical sparkle that Coriander carries about her at all times. Always angelic, innocent, haloed, as it were, with light. Anyway, Coriander's eyes become like the heart eyes, or no, the star eyes emoji. As she
So
is
like
asked
from
to do
Steven
with
Universe, the
like to do.
inspired star eyes.
Indeed. So she is like, yes, Granny, and she is the most dutiful granddaughter ever, and she goes and does exactly as she's told.
And as she does this, the 4 hobbits are, first of all, thanking all of you profusely and clapping you all on the back. And then one of them says to you, Titch, like, "Oh, since you're the bounder, as you said, like, you got to take charge of this one. What's to be done? He's got to face some punishment for doing this. He must have been waiting there off the side of the road. I thought that old Rosie here was acting odd, and then all of a sudden she just up and runs." And the donkey's like,
Yeah, well, you see, this little dart here that our dear little Rosie was struck with was laced with an agitate.
"Oh, what
and,
now? What?
The opposite of a good night tea, basically.
Oh,
An adjunct. No, that's not.
no, that means that would be if he wasn't getting paid properly and he was getting, just ignored and they had no governance. That's an adjunct." Oh, sorry. I'm just throwing a little bit of a teaching union. That was a little inside higher education joke for all you lovely people. Anyway.
Yeah, I think you guys were set up by our sleepy friend down there.
"Oh, but why would he go after us?" And
That I don't know.
the other one says, "Well, that's pretty obvious, Dad. You got this thing of 3 stone in here. He might be able to take some of it for himself. He would have robbed us blind for all of it. We just got unlucky.
Who would
We
do
were the
such a
first
thing?
ones through."
And she'd like put some. No,
Right? Do you put the leaf back that you would take?
no.
No.
No one would do that. "We were going to help the children of the poor with this." You're like, right? No.
Yes, help the local orphans. Give them tobacco.
The help
Yeah.
the
That's how
local-
that works.
It's really good tobacco.
just the profits. You're just helping them with the profits. That is all. And nothing wrong with tobacco blood money. Okay. So having dispatched this guy, so to speak, they basically say, Titch, that you're, what are you going to do with this guy? He needs to be brought to the authorities. Blah blah blah.
So Titch shows them how to use some of the rope that they almost certainly have.
Oh yeah, they have rope.
To bind it, basically spindle it around the axle very, very tightly so that it acts almost like a cast for a broken bone, and that should hold it long enough to get it to the cartwright or the wheelwright or whomever.
Right.
And because it won't make it all the way to like Michelle Delving, but it'll make it to like the closest garage or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he says, then make sure that you check this guy, make sure he didn't, gather any of your crop while he was sweet talking you, and then hand him into the local authorities. Make sure that you point out where this dart hit your animal here, and preferably one of the darts as well.
Aye, the sheriff would be there for him. We'll do that. Look, we don't have a lot of money yet, but we will once this thing comes through and once we've had the chance to dry. Look, will you take? Maybe you could take some of that. You were the one who found it out, and they bring over a few. They take a few leaves and they bring it over to you, Granny, and they're like, "Look, you really helped us out. Here, it's our pleasure to give you some of these leaves." As they give you 3 more of the leaves that you already took one
I
of.
couldn't possibly, and she stuffs it.
And she's yeah.
Really, I couldn't, could I? And they try to give each of you actually one of the leaves. Each leaf is a big leaf. So
Mitchell take one.
Okay.
As he smokes.
Coriander accepts hers and then, like, quite sneakily and stealthily wrinkles her nose and hands it over to Granny instead.
Just like lets it vanish in Granny's bag, probably.
Okay. Cal, do you take yours? That they offer
I
you?
absolutely accept it. I have pipes as a proficiency, whatever. So I'm gonna be smoking that at some point.
Okay.
Well, it's a cultural proficiency, so all of the hobbits have that.
It's just a thing. So okay.
And I
go
also
ahead,
give them detailed directions to the local wheelwright and the sheriff's office so they can get to both.
They thank you for that. And they also tell you that when you're on your way up to Oatbarton, to be aware that Oatbarton is particularly famous for its luncheons, that its luncheons are not to be missed, they say.
Is that first luncheon or second luncheon?
Second, well, all luncheons, first and second lunch. They are lunch specialists.
So, do they just club people over the heads up there?
And he sort of gives you this weird look.
Not bludgeon, luncheon.
No, the baton that you hit someone with. It would just. I mean, are they famous for those?
And Bilbo's like, oh, you mean the club? Oh no, shh. No, we're not supposed to talk about that.
No,
That's
it's,
not our discussion. That's supposed to be secret.
Truncheon. That's what I'm thinking. Of.
Oh,
That's
and
what it-
they sort of say, well, some of the bounders use those, but no, it's just a lunch. A lunch, they say. Not the same thing as drunch. And the donkey's like,
Titch is honing his stand-up comedian routine. He's trying to develop a
Clearly.
type 5.
Clearly
with
he's not
a-
reading the room well.
with a bit of extra work, they managed to get the donkey turned around. By this point, the man is recovered enough that they're able to stand him up, and he sort of stumbles along behind him. But Titch, you can see him glaring at you, just the most angry glare you could possibly imagine in your direction.
He's gonna luncheon you.
Gentlemen, I don't suppose you happen to have a spare rope with you, since we happen to use one of ours on this gentleman over here.
And they nod and they say, "Oh, of course!" And they toss you one, which is, in pretty good condition, you would say. It does smell a bit of tobacco, but otherwise,
Oh no,
it's definitely.
horrible.
Yeah, I know.
Freddy hates that.
Yeah, I'd be totally broken up about that, I would imagine. And other than that, they send you on your way. By the way, this is a good moment to pause and say welcome to everyone. We're going to be going for another 15-20 minutes. You are watching day 5 of Shire Adventures. This is called Expert Treasure Hunters, and it is sponsored by Free League. And in case you've been having fun, first of all, that's because the players are amazing. But beyond that, you should also type in !play LOTR if you would like to be able to find out more about where you can get this very system, which is officially released today by our sponsors, by Free League. So if you want a copy of this book, which is available at Drive-Thru RPG, and it's also available directly from them, and wherever finer tabletop supplements are sold, please make sure to get them and let them know that you found them through us, because I'm sure the sponsors would like to know that their stuff is being showcased in a positive way. But I'm joined as always by Amal, by Brad, by Tari, and by Tren. And we will be here for, as I say, another 15 minutes or so. We will have this crew mostly with us for ArvCon at the end of the month, my charity convention to support the Damon Running Cancer Research Foundation. Not Amal, because Amal will be on retreat, but we'll talk about how narratively that works in a little while. Okay. The rest of your trip for the next day to about the next day and a half or so, as I said, it's about 2.5 days to get to Oatbarton, proceeds relatively uneventfully. You meet no more carts or mules or evil men along the way. And as you cross up the Northway Road, I would say if you could bring your tokens up to about here, please.
Hey, Greg.
Yes.
What if there was like a party token for like maps like this,
Oh,
so
damn
that
it.
we wouldn't
Yeah,
need
you're right.
to do that anymore?
I forgot.
That
You
way you don't have to have
forgot.
Titch looking afraid to,
Yeah. Hold on.
I.
Yes, that is a good point. All right, hang on a second.
He
This
goes
is,
out of my
course-
way to make this more streamlined. Greg just sticks to his guns.
Yeah, I know. Listen, old habits die hard. That's the party
There's-
token that we're talking about here.
There's some meaning behind Coriander not having her token on the map, but I can't quite figure out what it is.
Okay. So, as you are moving your way up, it is closing in on midday of the 3rd day. So basically, been a little over 2 days as you've been going in a very leisurely way up the Northway, with Bilbo telling stories and singing and whistling and every so often mentioning how good it is. Of course, Bilbo also took several leaves of this stuff, and also mentioning how good these leaves will be when they're dried, and talking about the finer bits with Granny, the finer bits of tobacco smoking, occasionally pointing out features in the landscape and asking Cal whether he thinks that would be a good place for a given, he's been thinking of building up a storehouse for certain items, and would that be a good place to put the storehouse, or maybe there for a warehouse, and how does that work with the contours of the map, and blah blah blah, and all this thing, and of course praising all of you repeatedly at the way that you handled that ruffian, that layabout, as he refers to him as this person that you did this with. And about midday of the 3rd day, you catch sight of the first houses of Oatbarton. As I said, it's spring, so the last hints of winter are still there. And as you are just even before you take your first steps into this cobblestone courtyard that serves as the heart of the village, you catch the scent of roast chicken and potatoes. They waft through the air, and it is... I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. I'm thinking not of chicken, but of cinnamon buns. If you've ever been like past a bakery that maybe this only works, I guess, if you really love cinnamon buns like I do. But try to think of something that is the most delicious thing you can imagine, and remember the idea of it having had a certain scent. This is the thing that sort of it smells spectacular, is what it smells like.
We've already made the fox hungry several minutes ago. Now we made a Rudinell hungry.
This is what I'm doing.
I was supposed to be roasting a chicken tonight, but sadly, because of the timing of this this session, that is probably not going to work. So I'm super mad at this roast chicken and its potatoes.
Damn it! Okay, I'm sorry about. So you find this terrible smelling stuff that doesn't appetize you at all. No, it does actually smell pretty good. And you can see what are obviously a lot of, you can see kind of sun-kissed, let's put it that way, hobbits sitting around, gathered in the center of the village for their lunch. A lot of what you would assume are the hardworking farmers of Oatbarton sitting at long tables, and they are shaded by large pavilions and tents and things like that. And when you come in, the few of them are there, and hey, look at this, we got more of them. You don't look like you're from around here. Where are you from? And says to the three hobbits first.
Hobbiton?
If they were actually kissed by the sun, they would be vaporized. So no, they're not Oompa. Sorry, go ahead.
Did you say Hobbiton?
Yes.
Oh, up by Hobbiton.
Like with a certain tone of like, why the fuck would you be asking me this?
Okay. Oh, Hobbiton. All right. Well, that's not so bad then. And what about you? You look like you guard for somewhere? Must be from Bree. Oh, he looks like from Bree. Are you from Bree? All right.
Where's
well,
delivery from Bree? So
you have a delivery from Bree. All right.
No.
Well, he's like starts to head
She
you
said,
down.
I'm a notary from Bree. Didn't you hear what she said? You've been
I heard something
using
about
those truncheons again.
3 from Bree. And they say, well, sit down.
that
sit
was
down.
out of character. I
Oh.
said that he is wearing the livery from Bree.
Wearing the
so-
livery from Bree. Okay. I like that. I think
Yeah.
it's more funny though that they thought it was delivery.
Of course,
from Bree.
but like I didn't
Um,
do the voice.
That's true. You didn't. So they actually call you over, and there are actually 5 spots. And now, so far, they've only seen the 4 of you. But when Bilbo steps out from behind you, it's Bilbo Baggins. It is. Oh, he's from the Shire. Oh, it's Bilbo
Prep the
Baggins.
guillotine.
Bilbo Baggins. Bilbo Baggins. So they're all like, Bilbo Baggins. Oh, is the Bilbo Baggins? There's a couple of young kids who are there. Who's Bilbo Baggins? I know Bilbo Baggins.
How many others are there?
They're just like they are like you are clearly in the presence of celebrity. The rest of you are forgotten for a moment, and then Bilbo, who chats with them kindly and hands a penny or two to the young ones, and then they say, well, please sit down, and they invite the 5 of you, 4 plus Bilbo, to sit at the table for this roast chicken and potatoes. And I should say that it's not just one. They bring out a tray of multiple roast chicken
ostrich.
and multiple potatoes. Actually, an entire, what looks like a massive wooden bowl of cooked potato that they bring out. There's also huge slabs of butter on the table and like all this business. There's also rolls and the whole bit. And
don't mind if I do.
and they start
Freddy just walks up there.
hand these plates around to everybody so that you can start eating if you wish.
Yeah, I'll dig in.
Yes.
Okay.
Who says no to, like, what kind of hobbit who's right in their mind says no to free
Yeah.
food?
True.
Excuse me.
So
Let's walk out of this room and towards somewhere where I can have chicken and potato.
So
I
what's
will
what's
say.
your what's your business this far north then? You're a little far away from Hobbiton there.
Well, our business until just earlier was to help somebody fix their card.
Oh, but that isn't what
broken
would
on
lead
the
all
road.
5 of you. I mean, Bilbo Baggins and the other 3 of you, and then this guard from Bree. I mean, that's an unusual party. Oh, yeah, it's an unusual. I haven't seen anything. It reminds me, so there's like back and forth discussion, but they're very anxious to know why you've come this way.
Well, the big guy
And-
here is is hunting for a bear, apparently.
And they nod like, oh. Go ahead, Cal. I'll come back. To that.
I was just asking whether or not we had determined with Bilbo whether or not we wanted to advertise anything about our trip, and if we came up with a backstory ahead of time.
I think it's reasonable. I think it's reasonable for them to. They'll certainly, presumably, if you wanted to ask questions about local history, like the history of what is Kingsworthy and what is all that stuff. If they know anything about like, Bull Roarer took, like general questions. Like Bilbo didn't say we must be utterly silent, but
Yeah.
probably would have been like we should try to get some information, but without revealing too much.
All
About
right.
ourselves.
Well, so Cal is going to say our friend Titch here from Bree. He's only recently arrived, and we decided it would be good and neighborly and fun for us too to show him around. The North Farthing a little around the Shire.
And
So here we are.
And he says, "Oh, I see. Normally, the men of Bree usually stay right there. It's good that you're so curious about us." He says to you, Titch. Right. and sort of like, he says...
Are you like shovel?
Yeah. And one of them says...
I was so close to going, does there happen to be a vegetarian option? No, I didn't get that. But yeah, he's got like half a potato stuffed in one cheek. It's like, and then he's got like a drumstick sticking out of his mouth on the other side.
Cal throws in. He also wanted to sample the food, so this is a happy occurrence.
"Oh, I came to the right place. He's fading away to a shadow. He is." They're all like elbowing each other. And they're like, "Well, and what about you? This one here, this young one needs to get some food in her. Otherwise, she's not going to be strong enough to get up on the table. We're going to need a song from the young one. That's the way it works, isn't it?" And they all sort of nod at each other, and they look at you, Coriander, and they say, "Oh, wait, now you look... do you have any... You got some Tookish blood in you, you do."
Literally all the hobbits here.
Yeah.
Right,
But-
right. That's right.
I'm just gonna are these hobbits being like uncommonly rude?
No, you get the impression that they have no particular, like, social filters are not part of their, like, thing. You get the impression that they all seem to mean well. They're just sort of like, "Hey, tell us everything about yourselves." Like,
It's almost like you're part of the family immediately.
yeah,
and
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
chummy as they would with a family member.
Exactly.
So here's the funny thing about Coriander, so as outgoing and as blithely unconcerned with how she is received and stuff like that, as often evidenced by how she behaves around Titch and stuff. In a familial situation, she is actually very different, and she becomes under this kind of scrutiny extraordinarily shy, and starts to kind of like almost not quite wilt, but just sort of like become more small and is just trying to eat her food. But because they've commented on the fact that she's eating her food, she actually stops eating her food and is suddenly like just becoming very flushed and quiet and mumble something about my parents are talk some and then as soon, if there is like a second in which one of them like looks away, she will vanish. Like she will just like, even if it requires like going under the table and like away.
Okay. They probably
so you
do
guys
that.
want to hear a song then? And then Granny gets up and tries to divert the attention from Coriander.
Oi, it's a song, and they're all like, they
Yes,
kind of chuckle
and-
and laugh and
She will sing a song about
Sixpence.
like
No.
one of those classic folk songs, basically the ones that like where everybody can sing the chorus along.
the music stops
The music
Mhm.
stops.
to make this happen.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah, she does it. Like I'm not gonna sing right now.
Oh, well, okay, fine. I'll turn the music back
second
on.
Coriander disappears, Titch reaches over and grabs her plate and pulls it over to his side. And just shoves like a bunch of green beans in it. It's like watching Lilu Dallas feast on chicken. I mean, it's just gone.
Yeah. It's amazing. So as you are singing this song, so they're all sort of like into it, and one of you leans over to Cal and Titch. Titch unable to respond because mouth is full of food, but sort of leans over in Cal's general direction and says, because since Coriander has now vanished appropriately under the table, and says to Cal, look, can't take us the wrong way. We're just finding things out. Mostly, we don't usually see any of these, folks from, down south, that's all. So we were just curious. I actually got relatives by the Hobbiton, and it's a pretty place down there. Here people are, they're decent people once you get to know them, really.
And do we know the purpose of this gathering at this point?
Seems like they're just having their midday lunch. Basically in between farming work.
Well, okay. So Cal says, we're very grateful. This is excellent food, and thank you for having us at your table.
It's our
and Titch agrees. And I'm a messenger, as it happens. I go here, I go there, I bring messages wherever they need to go. I deliver packages, but along the way, I like to collect tales. And I've heard a bit about Bull Roar Took, and I just wonder, you must know a fair bit about him around here.
I will let you make either an investigation or a persuasion check. You can choose what you like.
While he's rolling on
persuasion,
Titch manages.
I just kind of keep him talking.
Okay.
Swallow
what he comes up with.
Food.
Okay.
He finally is able to say, does he actually roar at bulls?
And he says, well, there's a tale. And he says, oh yeah, bull roarer. Well, that's a pretty big story, obviously, around there.
Coriander peeks out from wherever she is, and it's just kind of like raising a periscope, and it's just like.
Did Granny, by the way, successfully distract the dudes
from Coriander?
She's
very much so.
Granny at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would say, by the way, Coriander, that as you look out, you can see that that there are kids, some of the Hobbit children, not too much younger than you, are out in a I mentioned that there's this cobblestone, square that the tables have been set up, and there's a field very nearby where a bunch of kids are there, and they seem to be running around, and it looks like they're, for want of a better term, hitting each other with a stick. And one of the people points over, and he's like, the one that you're talking to, Cal. So you see this, Coriander, and Cal, you hear the guy say, it's been passed down, for a while. That one over there, they play Bull Roarers Club is what they call that. They love them, the children. I think that's actually the club itself. And Coriander, now, of course, you don't know what the club looks like, but you're pretty confident it's not a fairly small stick with branches clearly still on it, that doesn't seem to be able to do this. So these kids seem to be roughing each other up with this stick, but they're all laughing and apparently having a great time as this happens. And he says, it's said that they say that Bull Roarer did all of his business with, all the work he did with the goblins. He invented golf, actually, don't you? But they say that it was Kingsworthy over there. And another one hears him is like, oh, talk about Kingsworthy. Yeah, Kingsworthy. He was asking about Bull Roar. Well, yeah, Kingsworthy, if you want to go there, but if I were you, I wouldn't go that way. And the other one's like, why? Like, you know why. And the other one kind of, that's nonsense anyway.
Cal looks like confused and says, well, why is that? Why wouldn't you want to go there?
And the other one says, I need you to make another persuasion check for me, please, Cal.
Okay.
Can
Titch could go ahead, Titch. You tell me.
I was going to say, can Titch's stuffed mouth curiosity give him advantage?
I wouldn't say advantage, but if Titch, I will let Titch make this persuasion too. If Titch, if you word the question a certain way, so you heard Cal ask the question, so you could be like, yeah, like I don't know, something that.
I was going to say, because Titch is
Well, you tell me. You tell me what, but you can, if you think of a question to ask that's along those lines, I can let you do this persuasion also.
Well, I have advantage when dealing with hobbits and persuasion anyway. So.
Okay.
Oh,
Has helped you a lot thus far, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So go ahead,
I
Cal and
also-
Titch, both of you
I
can.
also have folklore, so I'm wondering if I can kind of tease the question a little bit by I don't know, quoting a little more about what I know about Aurora and I don't know.
Ooh.
Natural 20.
Whoa.
Apparently
Natural
so.
20.
Double natural 20.
What?
Wow.
Nice.
They're just like, you need to be the mayor of the city. Give him every chicken. Every chicken.
Oh, yeah.
All
Oh,
chickens
oh,
do-
my
No
God.
proceed.
chicken left behind.
Never
No
leave.
chicken left
He
behind.
would never leave.
Oh my God. Okay, so that's good. I do need Cal to make his check as well. That's really impressive. That's me. I think what it is that Titch is so incredibly interesting and persuasive that they kind of forget about you for a minute. Cal is like, yeah,
they
anyway.
all swivel their heads to Titch.
Like-
They don't even hear my question.
So they tell you actually two things, Titch. One of them says, first of all, well, yeah, if you want to go up there, you can, but I wouldn't. It's abandoned at Kingsworthy. It's still there, about a day's travel into the North Moors. You got to go north, though, over that land, and that's not easy. I hear some weird things are about over there. And the other one says, yeah, well, the truth is, and they get their voice very quiet so that only the four of you, Bilbo seems to have been paying little attention, chatting it up with people on the other side of the table. And the other one says, there's more than that. I heard some rumors. There was one of them. You remember Bando, right? Yeah. Well, so Bando was in. He came back and said that he had heard some sounds coming from the place. They say that there's a ghost haunting the Kingsworthy, and I wouldn't want to be going and meeting no ghost, I can tell you that. And so everyone is sort of leaning in.
I was going to say, his Titch is like leaning way, way in, and he just grabs a biscuit.
Yeah,
and
it's like,
leans back.
takes the biscuit back. There's that, and then all of a sudden you hear, Granny! And from behind you, you hear a very familiar voice, Granny. It's
Oh,
also
no.
familiar to Coriander.
Oh no.
And you
See my
swivel.
daughter.
I was just about to say, you swivel your head to see a very, very displeased daughter of yours and mother of one Coriander took, with her arms folded. She has
Rosemary.
got a Rosemary. That's right. Who's got her cloak on, and has a walking stick.
Titch has like green beans sticking out of one corner of his mouth, and he's like, wait a minute, if she's your daughter, why do you call her Granny?
Coriander is not here. She is under a table.
She's under a table, and so she says to you, Granny, "Where's Coriander took?"
Well, hi, sweetie. How are you doing? It's a wonderful day.
I'm-
Go sit. They have delicious chicken here.
Where's my daughter, Mother?
And like Granny actually looks around because she's also not entirely sure.
I think you
Leander is actually still sitting there, but she probably didn't notice.
make a perception check for me, please. Actually,
Can I be contested?
sure. Make a stealth check.
Titch kind of leans down to Cal. It's like, what's your daughter, Mother?
It's a daughter.
Never mind for now, Titch. We'll explain everything later.
What was the perception? Yes.
Oh, geez, that was a bad stealth roll.
Which is
She's
seems.
really-
Oh, jeez.
very distracted by her very angry daughter.
I was going to say, that's assuming she's even still there.
Yeah. Well, she would have a hard time getting out, though, because she's under the table and there's a bunch of hobbit legs. There's essentially jail bars at the moment.
Well, she's in Granny's tobacco sack.
Yeah, exactly, like hovered in the sack. So she's just like, so you don't necessarily see her, although she was there a minute ago, Granny, not that long ago, when you sang your song.
Sweetie, she is very clearly not here, so...
You've lost her?
My dear friends, have you met my daughter, Rosemary?
And Rosemary frowns and folds her arms and says, Mother, you're telling me you've lost Coriander?
No, I would never lose her.
Where is she?
Oh, Coriander pops out. She can't bear it. It's like, it seems like Granny's about to be yelled at by her mom. She just pops out. She pops out from under the table. She's like, I'm here. I'm just here.
So your mother's arms go wide. Her eyes go wide and her arms go wider. And she sweeps you up into this embrace. And she says, she was right here all along, Mother. Looking at you, Granny. And then
I knew that.
I left you a note.
And she says, Coriander, and gives you the full. Actually, you never told me what the middle name is, but I really hope that there are some other middle names we can throw in for no reason.
Yes, let me think about this. I think Sweetgrass, Coriander Sweetgrass.
Okay, so the full name is in effect Coriander Sweetgrass Took. We have been asking to find you, to see you for the last day and a half, actually several days. Your father and I have been worried sick about you, and you, young lady, are in trouble because we had a guard visit us from the Michelle Delving, and they say there was a dog and Pepper and you and she's got now at this point all of the people around the tables, by the way, have all like stopped. They're all like staring at this incredibly fascinating encounter.
Mommy, I think you've heard some rumors.
And Titch is just like,
rumors.
See?
Rumors or not, young lady, you have got some explaining to do.
But I left you so many notes. Did you not find them? I left them everywhere. I left them in your nightstand and in the kitchen and.
With a frown, she reaches into her satchel and she pulls out a bundle of notes that you recognize, and another bundle of notes tied in a ribbon, which you also recognize as the notes that you studiously avoided reading every time you came in and left one of your own notes for your parents. And she held both of them and she said, you'll have plenty of time to read after we are done talking to you, young lady. You, and everyone's like, like every farmer, they're all, are grounded.
The camera zooms out.
And that's where we're going to bring our session to a close. The grounding of Coriander.
Oh no.
We're going to bring our session to a close, but there will be more that will happen down the line. That was really, 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 really fun. I'm sorry for all of the delicious food I talked about in the meantime. We've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty. No, Helnas, they weren't trying to reach about that. Good stuff, everybody. Really, really fun. And you have made your way on the way to Oatbarton. You also took out an animal abuser, that was worth it. Yep. Oh yeah, I didn't even realize I was doing that.
Yeah, I know.
Good stuff. And if you will, you baggins the bad guy. Anyway, it was good times. Thank you, Dragon Spear. It was a great climb. It was great playing by the players to get us to that stage. I will start using these squares here. I will start this time with Tren, and I will work around that way. So I'll start with you, Tren. Really fun stuff with Titch. I love the idea of the tea and the fact that Titch is always like the ultimate reluctant adventurer who goes on these things and is always like, God damn it. Like there's always like this sort of God damn it about Titch. But
he's the Eeyore of our group.
He's the Eeyore of the group. And the fact that Coriander, of course, like just resolutely pushes through the I'm frustrated with everybody, makes that in particular a lot of fun. And I also like the idea that Titch definitely had some guard work to do with Mr. Roger Blackwood, who obviously meant some bad things. And maybe this has created a little bit of an enemy for Titch down the line back in Bree. But listen, he knows this guy. If you hang out with Bill Fernie, you're not a good dude. We already talked about the whole animal abuse thing. So it all kind of fits together. But it was fun to see. And I was also having a lot of fun watching how much food you could cram into your mouth at one,
Right.
one Hobbit luncheon. How'd you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
Very much. I agree, Brad. He's kind of the Eeyore of the group, and he's also shaggy. So he said, skinny dude that can just pack away food, and you have no idea what sort of orb of destruction there is in the middle of his body that just eats everything.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid the fact that I did provide you all a lot of meals after we had a whole bunch of referencing to herbs and leaves. I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm sure that none of them are related in any way to each other at all.
I'm glad that in its way we managed to resolve the bear issue.
Somewhat.
Because it's just I love the fact that he's sort of he's not really in trouble, but he's the new guy, so he's the one who gets in trouble for stuff, shit rolls downhill and whatnot.
I love the idea too of his commanders having conflicting information all the time with all these letters. Like, the hell is, like, Bilbo's like, he's a hero, and he's like, he stole something. Like, 5 other hobbits told me something different. Like, would you people get your story straight? Like,
And then there's probably somebody else in the guard check who's like, have you met hobbits? No,
Yeah.
they're not gonna get their story straight.
Exactly.
Like, 6 hobbits can watch the same thing. You come up with 43 different stories. Anyway, you know where they think golf came from? So I loved today. I thought it was a lot of fun. I played Titch Applebow, who might be sticking around for a little while. I'm also glad that we managed to resolve that little bit of stuff. And don't forget to check out your coins to your thing.
Yep.
With stuff. And I'm in the very near future going to be switching over to a nighttime schedule because it's going to be time to start recording again. And I don't have a proper vocal booth, so I have to record at night, which means that my acoustic plug has to go back into my window again, which means no fresh air forever. But whatever.
There's fresh air in California.
When it's not burn season, yes. And it was raining a fair bit recently, so the front yard is mostly thistles. Again, Eeyore, it all works out.
Thistle yard, yep.
It's a rich tapestry. So that's for Where Will People See Me Next? I believe here.
Yes, for
Saturday.
Is Saturday? No, Saturday's Expedition, isn't it? I think Saturday's Expedition, not Eberron. But I need to check again to make sure that I'm
this coming Saturday. I mean, don't we have 2 Eberron sessions this month?
We do, but here, hang on a second.
One of them is in Arvcon, one is in...
Yeah, but that's right. But hold on, just look at my calendar.
That's okay. I was going to look at it too, but it never works right for me. You have to go
Okay,
forward
here
a
we
month
go.
and then back a month, and then it lines up.
No, 13th is Expedition, 20th is Eberron.
Well, fine, whatever.
But
I didn't want to talk to you anyway.
Yeah, whatever.
Shut up.
Yeah, they're a bit
Oh wait, for you it's the 20s. I'm like, because I'm looking at the calendar right now, but because of the time
zone
it's
difference.
Like
Yeah.
It says Sunday for me for Eberron, so
Yep.
because it's like 1:30 a.m.
Yep. No, it is Eberron is on the 20th. I have it, and then yes, you'll be back for the 28th, of course, with the amazingness of Arvcon that you'll be part of in several levels. So actually, poor Tren is always involved. Is going to be doing Saturday for 3 hours, and then Sunday marathon. Sunday. But it should be a good time, and it's for a good cause, and I'm grateful. So thank you, Tren. Always a pleasure. And again, you folks need to check out Tren's audiobook of Greyshade. Yes, that's slightly self-serving because that's obviously good for Greyshade, but he really did a wonderful job with that book. So
and we need to get me nominated for an Audie.
Yes, he needs to be nominated for an Audie. Seriously.
I don't
he's
know
amazing.
how that would actually happen. So
I was going to say, I don't even know how that works, but we need to figure it out. Anyway, always a pleasure. Thank you, Trent. Moving right along, Tari, lovely stuff from Granny today. First of all, we had Granny dealing with, Roger Blackwood. Stabbing him, I think, seemed very appropriate. I was waiting to see if that was going to happen with the needle at some point. Obviously, Granny's knowledge came into play on multiple occasions with the tobacco leaves, with the medicine checks on the stuff that was used, this adjutant, as I referred to it. And then, of course, trying to deal with the, hi, good to see you, my daughter. I love the fact that I was like, said that, and immediately everyone's like, oh, no. Oh, that's bad. Very, 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 very bad. And all that stuff. So we had it. So it was very ventful, I would say, for Granny one way or the other. How'd you feel about today's
Smaug,
session?
the real villain, was Rosemary all along.
It was all along, exactly. How'd you feel about today, and where will the fine folks see you next time?
I had a blast actually. Like, this was a lot of fun. I expected to be in a worse mood today, apparently. That went away as soon as the game started, so that's
good.
Yes. Also, I had like another cup of coffee like an hour ago, which is currently high kicking in. So I'm a bit, just twitching in space,
Okay.
in place.
Since we're on Twitch.
Yes. So yeah, no, I had a lot of fun. Also happy to see that like one of the family members I wrote up finally showed up. Because as mentioned before, I wrote up an entire stupid family tree.
Yep. And I wanted to make sure
these
that got
characters
pulled
better
in.
show up at some point.
Yep.
But yeah, people can find me on Tumblr and on Instagram, where I occasionally post my art stuffs at TariToons. And other than that, on various Tuesdays, you can find me here on this same bad channel. Not at the same bad time. So
That's true, earlier.
What's happening
That's right.
either for this game here with these lovely people or for Gamebook illustration streams. Currently, we are playing Final Fantasy something.
29 for Midnight Rogue.
Midnight Rogue, that was the name.
Yeah.
Yes. The stealth and burglary one where we played a character who can't open locks.
They can now,
restart.
fortunately. We restart, yes.
They can now, yes.
And we should be wrapping it up. This next session should be the last one of those, I believe, if all goes
and
well.
what's gonna be the next book then?
Book 30, which is a big one. I think it's called Chasms of Malice.
Chasms of... Oh, is that how you pronounce it? Chasms.
Eventually,
Not
Fighting
chasms?
Fantasy just started putting together like mountains of destiny.
No, the mountain one was the Warlock of Firetop Mountain.
Yeah, well, that was the first one, yes. But I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
they just combined some doom-sounding word with some
The
geographical
mountain
feature.
of
Trees of cliffside of horror, stuff like that. So.
Yes. So yeah, do check in for that, and of course I'll be here for ArtCon for this year game.
I'm very excited about that. Thank you, Tari. It's always a pleasure. Moving right on up the line, and thanks again to Tari for all of the amazing artwork that you see here, most of which is by her, the overlays and the character art and stuff like that. Moving right on up the line to Brad. Brad, again, good stuff from Cal. I had a feeling that Cal was going to be doing some of the work of like asking some of the questions that was necessary, but then early on, I was wondering if anyone was going to check the donkey, because there was a realistic scenario where it would have just been like, Titch looking at the axle and being like, here's how you fix it, but nobody wondering why this donkey, which doesn't seem to have been stirred to action since, it was born, why all of a sudden it would have acted this way. So you were the one who found the needle and found that other stuff and sort of set up for what was going to happen next. And there's this kind of, I don't know if you meant to have Cal be this way, but in addition to Cal's general interest in maps and things like that, there's kind of a semi-analytical approach, it feels to me, like Cal takes with some things about how the way certain things ought to be, that is a nice juxtaposition with some of the more impulsive members of the party who don't think about it in exactly that same fashion. How did you feel about today's
members in this party?
Listen. What did you think of today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, and Cal I didn't really know what to think about him at first, but as time is going on, he's kind of developing into a bit of a guide, and trying to
Yeah.
wrangle a bit as things go along, which fits him in a way as a guy who's inquisitive, a messenger. He knows a lot of people, and so he can kind of handle a bunch of different situations, as I envisioned him. So yeah, it was fun, and I just want to put in a nod to the game designers, actually, because our previous Erebor adventures had a very Lord of the Rings feel to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know the full breadth of the adventures in this game set at this point, but this feels like very Hobbit game centric. It creates that feel of the Hobbit and the Shire, and sort of the innocence isn't quite the right word, but close to that, right? It's just not as heavy and dark as Lord of the Rings,
Right.
And so it's just hitting all the right buttons for me in terms of like what I loved about The Hobbit when I first read it, when I still read it, still my favorite book. And so it's just super fun to be going through the adventure, and we haven't even explored all the rules yet
No.
in this new game, but it's really well done. So for people out there looking for sort of lighthearted adventure, which I appreciate right now at this point in my life, just because since the pandemic, I've been kind of looking for that type of thing. It's one of the reasons I think we've mentioned Ted Lasso a number of times on the stream, and I like it so much because it is a lighthearted show about a guy who is just kind, and like other people sort of like not grokking that in the beginning and then sort of gravitating to that. And anyway, this is a similar feel to me, kind of light, and it's just fun to be in that kind of mode, as opposed to the darker Lord of the Rings style thing. So yeah, well done game designers, well done for running that type of game accurately,
and I will
creating that feel.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I totally agree with that. And I will mention also quickly that since we are playing, Shire Adventures at the moment, definitely that is the emphasis point. And I definitely wanted a lighter campaign, especially because not only for reasons you said about real life, but just even Erebor Adventures was intense. I mean, like, and Wilderland Adventures too.
Yeah,
like it was intense, and I think it was for me a wonderful experience to play this with all of you. But it was definitely there was a lot going on there. There was a lot of heaviness, and so I wanted something lighter. I'm sure that as they get into some of the other kind of conditions, and that thing that it may darken slightly again, but you're right that the tone of it I think feels differently. And again, it's like something that I talk about all the time about this question of what stakes mean, that stakes don't have to require the destruction of Sauron in the ring, right? It can also be stakes that have seemingly less significance to the outside, but great significance to the hobbits internally.
And personal, right?
Yeah, and so there's a kind of historical element to this, but there's also a sense of let's explore the stuff that is powerful for the hobbits and kind of getting the band back together. It's one of the reasons that I didn't want Bilbo to dominate this. I just wanted him to be, characters going along with him. So
yeah.
But anyway, where will the fine folks find you next, Brett?
Yeah, so nothing coming up right away, but I will have Gen Con is not too far around the corner at this point. I was invited to a speaking engagement at a book festival in central Wisconsin, but that's not till later this year. So I'll tell everyone about that as it comes closer. And then otherwise, we got ARFCon coming up. Looking forward to that.
I'm very excited for ARFCon. Glad to have you as a part of it. Thank you, Brad. Good stuff as always. And Hobbit's my favorite. As you know, Hobbit is also my favorite book, so I'm with you about that. Actually, my son is listening right now to the NPR audio version of The Hobbit, which is like a thing that my family and I share. Very quirky and fun in its own way. Last but certainly not least, Amal, I know it's been a lot over the last few days with moves and then viral tweets and other matters, good and bad. And so I hope this, despite my mistake at talking about roast chicken, but other than that, I hope that this was helpful in forgetting a little bit of the craziness of that and getting invested in the craziness of what Coriander gets up to. And again, Coriander's sort of sunshiny, like the kind of delighted way that she takes on the world, even when it's taking things from the world that don't necessarily belong to her but need to be relieved of their previous owners. That is always a lot of fun to watch take place. And again, I love the balancing off of all of the characters, but in particular, like the fact that it's very hard to stay mad at someone like Coriander, I imagine, especially if you're Titch, where like you're just like, I will smother you in my respect for you, even though you're like, okay, I don't, so there was that. And of course, you're going to have the opportunity you did get the vial and the needle from this guy. So we got other mechanical things that happened from Coriander also. Now Coriander's grounded. Dun, dun, dun. So we'll see what the impact of that is. But leaving that aside, how did you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
It was really fun. It was really fun. It is just, yeah, it's just a delight. And I'm sorry, I'm very vague because I am starving.
Okay, no, I know. I understand.
But I did want to say that nonsense and virality and stuff, Time War is currently number 15 now.
Wow, let's go.
So it has broken the top 20.
15.
And while this session has happened, a journalist from Slate emailed to ask if I wanted to talk about the surreality of this whole thing, and so we'll see.
Nice.
So I don't know, look out for that. Other than that, where people can find me next, I am not going to be very available on the internet most of this month. This was basically the last thing for a while. We need to actually put books on shelves. Hopefully by the next time I'm on the stream, it will be less echoey. Thank you everyone who has put up with that in the chat. Nothing really I can do about it presently, but hopefully by next time it will be sorted. Yeah, so here generally, but or you can sign up for my newsletter and I don't know, learn more about this very wacky thing.
About the wacky stuff, I know.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. I can't wait for the people to know more about that than about you. For what, like people outside the field, just be like, "What? I saw this tweet."
Nicholas incident.
Yeah, I remember that.
Terry, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I realized a thing. So today was about, card accident and a needle. And last time we were involved in something like that, there was like a fire in town and somebody died.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
And there was like a whole thing about that was horribly depressing.
Wait, what?
When Bolo joined our company, it was about a cart accident and a needle.
Oh my god! Oh
Right.
no!
That's right.
Oh no!
The seamstress or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe this is
no.
parallel. Maybe this is all happening at the same time.
That was your first
Oh.
adventure with us, Brad.
Yeah.
And
No.
Amal, given how hungry you are, you don't have time to roast a chicken, so go microwave a Roadrunner. That should balance it out.
Good eats.
I honestly don't know what I'm going to have. So, anyways, I will leave you guys know. But
Do you have roadrunners in Canada?
no, I don't think so. I think they are more of a southern thing.
Yeah,
More
deserty
of a
type.
desert. Yeah.
Instead,
They
just
do
moose.
actually eat rodents, though. They are like predators a little bit. Small amount. I think, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken. I'm very vague.
All right.
Goodbye.
I'm
I'm hungry.
going to
I'll
say
find a
goodbye to
rodent.
all of you. Say goodbye to all these lovely folks. Can we get some love for the wonderful Shire Adventures crew? You'll see 3 of them for ArvCon and the whole crew back next month. Thank you to Amal, to Brad, to Tari, and to Tren. Great work today, players. Bye for
Bye.
now. All right. And that, folks, is going to do it for us for today. And it's going to do it for our this portion of the continued epic adventure that has been sponsored by Free League. And again, I want to thank Free League for sponsoring us with Shire Adventures. They made it possible for us to get some of these overlays and things like that. There's also a podcast which is going to be on the way. The plan is for that to begin next month, basically after ArvCon. So if you've been checking out my Curse of Strahd podcast, there's going to be something like that, except it's going to be for this. It's going to be a podcast for Shire Adventures, which I think is going to be pretty great. So I'm excited about that. But this was a lot of fun, and again, it's a great system. So I'm excited to be able to play it and to bring it to all of you and to enjoy this at a very different level of intensity than the last one might have been. If you liked what you saw and heard today, please follow the channel. Please check out our YouTube with !ArvTube, Discord with !ArvCord, Twitter with !ArvTweets, website arvaneleron.com, financially !ArvShop for the merchandise area, !ArvTreon for my Patreon. Please support the writing side of things. !Icarus is my award-winning graphic novel from Athos Arts. !Library is my Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library, my 5e adventure and sourcebook from Alligator Alley Entertainment. That is an Electrum seller now on DriveThruRPG, and Grayshade, which is my award-winning IBPA Benjamin Franklin Silver Medalist award-winning novel, which came out last year. The sequel to that, Renegade, will be out July of this year, and the final book in that series, Heretic, will be out next year. The audiobook by Tren Sparks, who you just saw regale you with some amazing roleplay, that is already out, so you can get that now at that link, and you can also pre-order the tabletop role-playing game from Brandon O'Brien. From Brandon O'Brien as well. So you can support us in all those ways. And again, thanks to our sponsor for Free League, Play LOTR, if you want to be able to get more details about how you can get this awesome system and check it out for yourself. It's cool even if you just like Lord of the Rings stuff and you want to be able to check it out as source material. There's a lot of cool stuff that I like in the books that they send along as well. As always, BLM, Black Lives Matter, important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. Help Now, the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Important to reach out to others when you need help and reach out to others when they need help as well. And Ukraine, UKRAINE, to help the people of Ukraine as they fight back against an illegal and illegitimate war with bravery and courage, and send the message that we will do that for others in this situation in the future. Lastly, as I've been talking about and will continue to talk about, Klein is the kickoff event for the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation supporting ARVCon. It is the 9th annual ARVCon. The money goes to this cancer research and has been very effective in doing so. We have almost raised $30,000. We will pass $30,000 this year. We raised over $7,000 alone last year. And this event is going to take place live and in person at the historic Klein Memorial Auditorium in Bridgeport, Connecticut. It will be at 6 p.m. Eastern and will feature 4 live players on stage. Darkside Rob, also known as Robert Austin James, Zach Clay, C.S.E. Cooney, and Carlos Hernandez will join me, and a winning high school student who I will announce at the end of the week. They will be joining me to play through Night at the Forbidden Library from that aforementioned adventure I talked about before. And you can get in there for $5 tickets. You can be there in person, or you can also, for $5 tickets, can check out the online stream as well. And all of that will go to benefit the Klein Memorial Auditorium, and most important, will go to benefit the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation, as we will be doing this all weekend long, but starting on that Thursday, the 25th. So please spread the word, let people know, and I'm hoping we'll have a great turnout. I will be back to you folks Friday night for some Jedi Survivor, and I'm looking forward to that. But the next couple of days, I'm going to be spent hanging out with family, doing a little bit of writing, and mostly relaxing. I'm going to start more of the hardcore writing next week, and then obviously we have ARVCon prep, and after ARVCon is finished, then I'll be doing a lot of writing over the summer. But I just got done with finals literally yesterday. I handed in final grades, so I'm going to take a day or two to kind of chill out a little bit, which I think is feels deserved anyway. And more of this game to come, coming up again during ARVCon. So thanks everybody. Thank you to my wonderful mods. Thank you to Arudinel, Dragonspear, Emily the Invincible. Thank you to Hillness and Shadowed Mage for being the best. Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much to my wonderful Patreon supporters and subscribers. Thank you to Arudinel, Dragonspear, Emily, Hillness, Shadowed, Tren. Thank you so much to my viewers as well. Thank you to Amal. Thank you to Ben Varlar. Thank you to Explore the Beyond, Harlequin. Thank you to Elizabeth, Jagtris, Kevin. Thank you to Lady Mistella. Thank you to Ledrake. Thank you to Live Suing, of course. Thank you to Megalomaniac for the follow as well. Thank you to Mrs. Dunsel. What's up, Mrs. Dunsel? Thank you to Paula Rugi. Thank you to Rando. Thank you to Rybra, to Tonica, the Forright, and Yumikkel. And special thanks today to the 2 folks who came in and gave us raids. Thank you for that. And thank you as well, most of all, to Free League for sponsoring us, and to my wonderful players, to Amal, to Tren, to Brad, and to Tari. Thank you for being awesome and for being you. I will see you folks on Friday night. Until then, please go get this awesome system, and please, everyone, have a lovely next couple of days. And I'll see you folks soon. Until then, everyone, please be good to each other. Bye for now.